Last night in the ninth inning with the Mets trailing 2-1, Kevin McReynolds homered against Ed Whitson to tie the game at 2. For McReynolds, his 15th home run of the year. Then 2 batters later, Kevin Elster hit a shot down the left field line, and Marvell Wynn had trouble picking up the ball. But Sam Perlazzo had no trouble sending Barry Lyons home, and when the relay from Biff Roberts was offline, Lyons had the winning run. For Elster, it was high fives all around. Then a big hug for batting coach Bill Robinson. The Mets winning it 3-2 and now in second place in the National League East, 3.5 games behind Chicago. Can they pick up a game on the Cubs? We'll find out next on Channel 9. Live from Shea Stadium in New York, it's Mets Baseball 89 as tonight the Mets take on the San Diego Padres. And Mets Baseball 89 is brought to you this evening by Budweiser. Beechwood aged for that clean, crisp taste. This Bud's for you. By Manufacturers Hanover, the financial source worldwide. By Nissan, building cars for people who want more than just a means of getting from here to there. Nissan, built for the human race. By The Wiz. Remember, for anything in home entertainment, nobody beats The Wiz. By your Lincoln Mercury dealers. By the New Jersey Bell Yellow Pages. No other book can match it. New Jersey Bell, a Bell Atlantic company. And by RC Cola. Some people go out of their way for the taste of RC. Pitching for the Padres tonight, it's left-hander Dennis Rasmussen, 5-8 with an ERA of 4.18. And on the mound for the Mets, right-hander Ron Darling, 10-9 with an ERA of 3.67.
Well, hi, everybody. I'm Ralph Kiner along with Steve Zabriskie and Tim McCarver. And on this special day, a happy birthday to my daughter, Casey. Right. And on this special day, last year, the New York Mets were really turning it on. But this year, the Mets are turning it on also. The Mets have won 5 out of 6 in this homestand. And last year, they were in first place by 5.5 games. And the Mets now 3.5 games back in second, Tim.
And I think the big difference this year is they shouldn't be really that alarmed because they're playing the same type of baseball that they played last year that put them 5.5 games in front. And last night's game was an example of the type of baseball that the Mets have played of late. Kevin McReynolds and Kevin Elster, as Steve Zabriskie said on the tees, igniting the Mets offense in the ninth inning, scoring 2 runs and beating San Diego 3-2. That's the type of baseball they were playing last year and the type of baseball we're seeing more of recently.
And Kevin McReynolds really hot in the month of August, as well as the New York Mets. And we'll be back for the start of the second game of this 3-game series right after this word from Budweiser.
I got dirty an awful lot when I was little. What am I doing here? You know this.
You're playing baseball.
Yeah, that's right. It came natural to get dirty. Johnson's baby shampoo has been great for my hair all through my life. It's strong. It makes my hair look clean. It makes my hair feel clean, and it's gentle. Look at this kid's hair. I think it looks good.
Johnson's baby shampoo, now also with conditioners for extra control.
I shower 4 or 5 times a day. It's never made me cry.
Johnson's, for the life of your hair.
Lemons pitches to Winfield. High and inside.
Hold it!
It's starting lineup talking baseball, and you're in control.
What's the problem?
Roger, fastball, low and inside.
You control 40 superstars. Make Roger Clemens throw a fastball or a curve. Have Dave Winfield bunt or hit for power.
Hold it!
Buy now and get 2 free team cartridges. Details in Sports Illustrated. Starting lineup talking baseball. What they do is up to you.
Well, the Mets against the Padres, and Ron Darling set to go. The leadoff batter, Biff Roberts, and Darling with a pitch, and it's a called strike. Roberts hitting .307 for the year with 1 home run, 13 runs batted in, and he has been a real surprise for the San Diego Padres. Grounds this ball toward the second base side, fielded by Keith Miller. And Roberts, who was 1 for 4 last night, is now out here in the first. On the mound for the Mets, Ron Darling with a record of 10-9. He's 1-0 against the Padres this year, a 3.67 earned run average, 55 walks, 105 strikeouts, 153 hits, and 157 innings. And Darling with a record of 5-3 lifetime against the San Diego Padres. Now with Roberts down, the batter will be Roberto Alomar. Alomar hitting .268. He takes a fastball high. Alomar with 2 home runs, 32 runs batted in. And he decoys the bunt and takes again for ball 2. Alomar 4th in the National League in hits with 124. His teammate Tony Gwynn leads, and Darling misses again in the count 3-0. And the on-deck batter is Tony Gwynn. The 3-0 pitch to Alomar, ball 4, so Alomar walks on 4 pitches, and that brings up the National League batting champion, Tony Gwynn.
Following Tony Gwynn is Jack Clark hitting 4th. Chris James, formerly with the Phillies, batting 5th. Mike Palirulo batting 6th. Benito Santiago, the catcher, hitting 7th. Gary Templeton, the shortstop, batting 8th. And Dennis Rasmussen going against Darling tonight. He's batting 9th.
So Darling to take on Tony Gwynn, who is hitting .342 for the year with 4 home runs, 45 runs batted in. He leads the National League in hits with 158, and he is leading the National League in hitting with his .342 average. Alomar drawing the throw at first. He's had 28 stolen bases. And the first pitch to Gwynn, a fastball outside, and that's 5 in a row out of the strike zone by Ron Darling. Gwynn has been the batting champion the last 2 years. The last man to lead the league 3 consecutive years was Stan Musial back in 1950, 51, and 52. Close play at first.
Anytime you get a base runner at first base leaning on that right leg, you have a chance to pick him off. Alomar put weight on the right leg, but was back in time.
One ball, no strikes to Gwynn. There goes the runner, and the ball hit in the air to left center field. McReynolds a long way back, and this ball near the wall, and McReynolds drops it. Alomar on the way to third and holding there, and Gwynn goes into second base as that ball just kept on carrying out to the deepest part of left center field.
It looked to me like McReynolds lost the ball, and that's why I think he gave up on it. He thought he had it initially. Now watch when he gets back toward the fence. Now this ball is catchable, and he was facing the wall. It looked to me like when he was facing the wall, he had lost the ball, but technically, I mean, he had a shot at catching that ball, and then he smothers it with his body to prevent Alomar from scoring. It did carry a lot better than we thought, and certainly better than McReynolds thought.
A warm, humid night here at Shea Stadium, and runners now at second and third with 1 out, and Jack Clark the batter. Clark hitting .241. He has 15 home runs and 62 runs batted in. And he goes right through the fastball, strike 1. Clark this year has not had a hit against the Padres all season long. I should say against the Mets all season long. He is 0 for 19 against them. 0 for 4 in last night's ball game.
Looked like he may have hurt his back on that swing. A lot of times that'll happen the first time up before the team goes out on the field, which is the case with the Padres now.
The 1-strike pitch and the split finger fastball, strike 2.
I'm surprised that doesn't happen more often, Ralph. I mean, guys take infield, they take batting practice, then they go in and they cool off, and some players don't really warm up properly once they come back out on the field.
Clark also leads the league in walks. He has had a total of 94 this year. And this ball is popped up out to fairly shallow left field. McReynolds in throwing position. Tagged up at third is Alomar, and the throw home is strong in there, and Carter holds on to the ball, and Alomar is out. A double play on the throw by Kevin McReynolds as Alomar is thrown out of the plate. That ends the inning. A walk, a double, and the double play. One man left on base to score at the end of one half inning. The Padres nothing, the Mets coming up. Now here's a word from Nissan.
McReynolds, but it nails Roberto Alomar. Great play by Carter, holding on to the ball. I'm really surprised. It didn't look like Alomar. It looked like Alomar may have gone for the fake. Carter just standing there as though there were no play, and now the glove goes up, and Alomar interested in knocking the ball out of Carter's hand, whereas if he slides, he may have been safe. Good play by Carter and McReynolds.
So the double play ends the inning on the threat by the San Diego Padres in the top of the first inning, and now Dennis Rasmussen to work to the New York Mets. Keith Miller will lead it off for the Mets. And he attempts to bunt his way on and fouls it back into the stand. Rasmussen with a record of 5-8, his first appearance against the Mets this year. He has an earned run average of 4.18. He has worked 140 innings, given up 149 hits. He has walked 57, struck out 65. And he is 0-2 lifetime against the Mets. And the fastball fouled back out of play for strike two. Miller hitting .213 for the year with the Mets with no home runs, 4 runs batted in. And the breaking ball for ball 1, 1-2. Miller at Tidewater batted .266 in 48 games with 1 home run and 10 stolen bases. He has not had a hit against the Padres in his major league career. He is 0 for 8 against them. 3 of those at bats this year. And he is struck out.
Following Keith Miller, Juan Samuel batting second, followed by Howard Johnson, Darryl Strawberry in the 4-hole, Kevin McReynolds batting fifth. Boy, has McReynolds been hot in every phase of the game. Magadan batting sixth, Gary Carter batting seventh, Kevin Elster and Ron Darling. That for McReynolds, by the way, his 8th assist of the year. He led the National League in assists last year with 18.
For the Mets, Juan Samuel. And he looks at the fastball, a called strike. Samuel hitting .253 for the year, 11 home runs, 35 RBIs, 1 for 4 in last night's ball game. And he has had trouble with the Padres this year. Goes after the off-speed pitch, strike 2. This year, Samuel 3 for 25 against San Diego's pitching. His lifetime mark, .272 against San Diego's pitchers with 8 home runs. 2 strikes to count. And the fastball just does miss, and it's 1-2. Dennis Rasmussen, his grandfather, was a major league third baseman for the Pittsburgh Pirates, Bill Brubaker. And the ball grounded foul. Bill Brubaker, a big, tall third baseman. In those days, very tall for a third baseman, about 6'5". Rasmussen also very tall, and he has been around a while. Goes to the breaking ball and misses with that. Winning pitcher in both leagues, and he had his best year ever for the Yankees. And the fastball just off the plate, and the count 3-2. On deck batter Howard Johnson. Rasmussen with the Yankees in 1986, 18-6. Three and 2 the count. And he walks it. So after getting out in front with a 2-strike count, Rasmussen walks Samuel. And that'll bring up Howard Johnson.
There's Doc Gooden, and after the Frank Viola trade, everybody led to believe that it would be a surprise if Gooden comes back this year. He is throwing, but really our most recent knowledge about Doc is that he has made really no more progress over the last 2 weeks. That tear just doesn't seem to heal, and it would surprise me that Doc comes back unless the Mets get into postseason play.
So now runner at first for the Mets, and Howard Johnson, the batter. Howard in last night's ball game 2 for 4 with a home run and the double. And he takes the fastball for ball 1. Johnson with 28 home runs, 72 runs batted in, hitting .290 for the year. Out of his last 45 hits, 27 have been extra base hits, 17 doubles, 1 3-base hit, and 9 home runs. So Howard really showing it in the power department. Toss over to first base. Samuel always a threat to steal. He has 26 stolen bases in 36 attempts. No strikes, and the foul ball evens the count at 1-1. Howard Johnson still the league leader in runs scored. He has 82, 1 more than Will Clark. And he is in a tie for second in home runs with 28. Kevin Mitchell leads the league with 37. And it's becoming a habit now. The Mets with rolled-up sleeves, started by Darryl Strawberry.
It's a sign of going to work. Roll your sleeves up and go to work.
They're not in the same class with Ted Kaczewski. When he cut his sleeves short, he showed you some arms. But they're close. 1-1 pitch. Ball 2, a throw to first base, and Samuel back.
Got to watch Santiago. He has picked off 7 at first this year, 5 at second. He's picked off 12 runners.
And he picked off McReynolds in last night's ball game for the 7th at first base. Tonight in Cincinnati, the Cubs won the Reds nothing, bottom of the first.
Jerome Walton now has extended his hitting streak to 26 games.
That is the longest in the major leagues. He's got some to go to beat the rookie record, 34 consecutive games, and it was Benito Santiago who did that for the San Diego Padres. That was back in 1987 when he was Rookie of the Year. The 2-1 pitch, and it's fouled back out of play as Howard Johnson fouls off the fastball. So it's 2 balls, 2 strikes. Jack McKeon, the manager of the San Diego Padres. He is the 12th manager in 20 years for San Diego. And he got that job as a step down. He was general manager of the ball club. Or maybe not a step down, but at least a step into a lot of fire. 2-2 the count. Samuel moving back toward first base on the pitch, but the pitch inside and the full count 3-2, and you'd have to figure that Samuel will be running with the next delivery. Most extra base hits in one season by a Mets player. Strawberry was 76. Johnson this year still with a lot to go with 62. To the count. Samuel a good lead. He gets picked off. And the throw by Clark out into left field, and Samuel on to third, and he'll make it. So Samuel picked off. And a sure out down the drain because of the throwing error by Clark.
Well, Jack Clark takes his time. Watch him take his time. It didn't appear that he could get the ball out of his glove, and consequently he throws wild to Templeton covering, and Samuel has a stolen base, and that's his 27th of the year, and an error on Jack Clark. Remember, Jack Clark played sparingly for the Yankees last year. Even though first base was his position with the Cardinals, you take a year out of not playing defense, and that affects you. He was certainly affected on that throw. He took his time, and Samuel beat the throw.
So now a runner at third with a 3-2 count. And it's ball 4. So 2 walks in a row, and the Mets have runners at first and third with 1 away.
Right fielder, number 18, Darryl Strawberry.
So Sammy Palazzo talking to Samuel as Darryl Strawberry steps in.
What a gutty call by Palazzo last night, sending Barry Lyons. It's gutty when you first look at it. It makes so much sense upon further study.
And the first pitch to Strawberry, fouled back out of play. Strawberry hitting .234 in the year with 25 home runs, 63 runs batted in.
In an extra inning game, you rarely have a chance to win the game, and you got to take advantage of every chance you have. That was the 9th inning with 2 out lines at first. It was the same thing as an extra inning game. You got to take a shot there, and that's what Palazzo did, and reaped some benefits on 2 bad throws. And there's the fella who scored the winning run last night.
He was surprised that he was waved in, but he made the most of it. Compounded by 2 bad plays by the Padres on the double by Elster. And that pitch in there, a called strike, so it's strike 2. Darryl in last night's game was 0 for 4. And he just gets a piece of it. The count stays at strike 2 in the foul ball. Darryl 1 for 27 against the Padres this year. 1 hit, and that was a home run. Lifetime, he's hitting .291 against them with 15 home runs. Now he steps out of the batter's box, so time is called. The 2-strike pitch, and it's inside and low, and it's 1-2. On deck batter Kevin McReynolds.
Strawberry's set up for the fastball inside. I think you do him a favor. It's going to be a fastball inside. That's the proper pitch right here.
That's a fastball, but not quite inside. Strawberry caught looking. So a big strikeout for Rasmussen.
Well, it was supposed to be inside, but the fastball's the pitch in that situation. You're throwing those tantalizing breaking balls. Look where Santiago is. The ball sails back over the middle of the plate. I think a breaking ball, especially with 2 strikes on a hitter, lefty versus lefty, is the easiest pitch to hit. You can show him that pitch, but don't try. You ask Keith Hernandez about that, and I've talked at length with him about that particular situation many, many times.
So it's up to Kevin McReynolds, and his first pitch is in there, a called strike. McReynolds hitting .285 with 15 home runs, 62 runs batted in. His home run in the 9th inning with 1 out tied the game last night. He was 2 for 4 in yesterday's ball game. And he hits it foul down the right side. It'll be out of play. McReynolds in the month of August hitting .362 with 17 hits, 6 of them home runs, and he's driven in 14 runs. He hasn't done well against his former team. He's had only 3 home runs, and 2 of those this year, while hitting .279 against them. He brings a 5-game hitting streak into this game. And this one fouled back, and it will be out of play.
One of the problems Rasmussen has is that his best pitch is a pitch out of the strike zone, and that's the high fastball. He's a lot like Jim Deshaies of the Houston Astros, the difference being that Deshaies is more consistently up in the strike zone.
So Rasmussen in front with that 2-strike count. The runner goes, a pitch in the dirt, and it goes back to the screen, and the Mets score as Sam Well comes in from third, and they lead it by a score of 1-0. Howard Johnson running with a pitch on down to second.
Dennis now given up 24 runs in the first inning. And this one's got to hurt Rasmussen because, think about it, I mean, second and third for the Padres, they failed to score with 1 out in the top of the first, and the Mets get a run without a hit here in the bottom of the first.
And the count now 1-2, and a ground ball to the left side in foul territory. So the count remains at 1 ball and 2 strikes. That was only the 4th wild pitch by Rasmussen this year. But he gave the Mets the lead, and they lead 1-0, and Jack McKeon looks on. Padres just trying to hold on. They started their action 9 games back at San Francisco in 3rd place. And it's up the middle of base hit. McReynolds does it again. Howard Johnson scores, and the Mets lead it 2-0.
Both walks in this inning have scored. Samuel and now Johnson. There's that ball down in the strike zone. If you lay off that high fastball, you'll eventually get a pitch to hit. That's what McReynolds did. He fouled off the tough ones. He got one down in the zone and rifles it up the middle. RBI number 63 on the year, and he has been red hot.
So McReynolds picks up Strawberry, who struck out with a runner at third. The wild pitch got the runner at third in, Samuel, and now the base hit by McReynolds. And here's Dave Magadan. He looks outside for ball 1.
Been a tacky inning for the Padres, hasn't it, Ralph?
It has been that.
The error not only doesn't get Samuel at second, it moves him to third so he can score on the wild pitch. And on the wild pitch, Johnson was at second so he could score on the base hit.
And a fly ball hit out to left center field. Went on his way to the warning track, and he hauls it in. That will end the inning. But the Mets get 2 runs on 1 hit. There were 2 walks in there, and 1 man left on. The score at the end of 1 inning here at Shea Stadium, it's the Mets 2 and the Padres nothing. Now here's a word from Paramount Pictures. Let it ride. Forget the last 2 half innings. In last night's ball game in the 9th with 1 out, the Mets got 2 runs to win it, 3-2. A home run by McReynolds, and then the double that drove in Lyons from first after Lyons had a base hit. And now an ugly first inning with the Mets scoring 2 runs to take the lead 2-0 with only 1 base hit. Rasmussen, the victim of the 2 runs, giving up those 2 walks that both scored, but not helped out defensively, as Jack Clark at first base had Samuel at second, but threw the ball away. And the first pitch as Ron Darling, who survived sort of a tough first inning, and Chris James pops it up to second base to Keith Miller. James with a home run in last night's ball game. So you're watching Mets baseball 89 on WWOR-TV, Secaucus, New Jersey.
You know, Ralph, it's funny about that lady who was holding up that sign. She was talking about the Mets are the best. And then look at the eclipse. See, there's a guy's head. Look at that young man's head in front of it. So that's appropriate, right?
That's an eclipse.
It's an eclipse of the sign, really. Look at that. See, now that's smart, holding the banner up. Look at that young man's head right now. When's the eclipse? In about an hour and 15 minutes. 9:21.
Yeah, after 9. So Darling out in front of Palarulo, who is making his first appearance against the Mets. Hitting 175 for the year, and he pops it up into the second base area. And again, Miller makes the catch. Palarulo has been up 64 times with 11 base hits. 5 of them have been doubles and no home runs. Lifetime average for the Yankees, 229 in 6 years. So 2 men away, and that'll bring up Benito Santiago. Santiago 0 for 3 in last night's ball game. Hitting .236 this year with 6 home runs, 41 RBIs. And he takes the first pitch for ball 1.
Really mysterious about Pags. Palarulo, longtime third baseman for the Yankees, 32 home runs in 86. Trying to get back to that form.
He has really struggled, and of course now with a new team, and he says, I'm playing in a ballpark surrounded by mountains. I don't know what that's like. He'll find out.
Well, Yankee Stadium surrounded by mountains. Man-made mountains.
Mountains of buildings. Down the right field line, it'll be a base hit. Santiago being played toward the line by Strawberry, and a single is all he'll get. So he has his first hit of the series. That's the second for the Padres, and it brings up Gary Templeton.
Gary Templeton.
Templeton hitting .261 with 4 home runs, 25 RBIs. Back in 1979, he became the youngest shortstop at the age of 21 to have 200 hits. And made the All-Star team. Actually was selected to the All-Star team, wasn't voted in. Go to first base and Santiago back. And he made the famous remark that if I ain't starting, I'm not departing. So he didn't show up for the All-Star game. And they pitch a ball. 1 ball, no strikes. Templeton 2 for 3 in last night's game. First man to ever have 100 hits batting right-handed and 100 hits batting left-handed in the same year. That was with the St. Louis Cardinals. He was traded even up for Ozzie Smith. Runner goes. The throw on down to second is not in time, and Santiago gets a stolen base.
Stolen base number 7 on the year. He's been caught 6 times. And really a good play with the pitcher coming up next, because had he not stolen second, then Templeton, for the most part, would have to have gotten an extra base hit to score him. Now you can score him on a single. That base running.
That was his 43rd stolen base, so he does have good speed. And this one blooped right over this pitcher's mound. Tough play. Templeton will beat it out, and on the play, Santiago goes over to third. So once again, Darling in trouble. And that ball hit right off
the pitcher, Dennis Rasmussen.
The grass part of the infield, not hit hard enough to even get out to Elster where he could make a play.
Looks like a lunar shot right there. I think it's quite appropriate tonight. That ball, had Elster not gotten to it, would not have reached the edge of the infield grass, the front edge. So Gary has a little dunker.
And that brings up Dennis Rasmussen, who has had 9 hits. He takes for ball 1. Rasmussen has driven in 2 runs, hitting .188. And ball 2. So Darling falls behind 2-0. Darling out of the first inning on a double play that was off a fly ball hit by Jack Clark to McReynolds in left field. McReynolds threw out. Alomar at the plate on an exciting play. And a strike call, so it's 2-1. Bob Ojeda talking to Doc Gooden. And the 2-1 pitch hit on the ground to the second baseman, Keith Miller, who has it. The throw to first base retires the side. So 2 hits wasted for the Padres. They leave 2 on. And the score after 1.5 innings. The Mets 2 and the Padres nothing. Now here's a word from Tropicana.
15. We got this game won.
Yeah, you guys are buying a light beer from Miller.
Yeah. Nice Philly.
One out to go.
Yeah, what can he do to us now?
Hey, keep the change. Here's Rodney.
Any pinch hitters left? Here I am.
Come on, Lee!
Light beer from Miller. Everything you always wanted in a beer, and less.
Hey, wait a minute. This game isn't over yet. I caught that ball.
In front of the sun to give us a lunar eclipse. Coming in now for the play-by-play, Tim McCarver.
It's the bottom of the second, 2-0 ball game. The Mets scoring 2 in the bottom of the first. Padres with 2 opportunities to score, really better opportunities than the Mets. And Dennis Rasmussen has now allowed 25 runs on 36 hits in the first inning. So the first inning has been his bugaboo. Came to the Padres last June 8th for Candy Sierra, a right-handed pitcher, and was 14-4 for San Diego with a sparkling 2.55 ERA. He was 2-6 with Cincinnati, so he was really the comeback player of the year in the same year. Started off 2-6, ended up 14-4. And Gary Carter takes strike 1.
Carter's first at bat against San Diego this year.
Curve outside, 1-1. A ball and 2 strikes to Gary Carter, his 8th game since coming off the disabled list back on July 25th. Curve misses, 2-2. Left side. Paliarulo up with it, and he throws out Carter. An easy play, and Kevin Elster coming up.
Number 21, the shortstop, Kevin Elster.
Well, the Mets catchers in last night's game, what about that performance? Mackey Sasser 3 for 3, Barry Lyons 1 for 1. And Lyons scored the winning run, knocked in. A double by Kevin Elster with 2 out in the bottom of the 9th. Lyons scoring all the way from first base. And the Mets won it 3-2. Fly ball right side. Chris James shuffles in. 2 outs.
You know, Tim, Mackey Sasser now 8 for 8 against Ed Whitson.
Yeah. Mets can certainly manipulate their catchers now. Something they couldn't do earlier in the year. If you remember, Mackey Sasser was being sent down for more playing time when Carter went on the DL. Mackey coming back, and then Barry Lyons broke his toe. The Mets had 2 of their catchers on the disabled list. Phil Lombardi was called up. Phil did a good job while he was here, but now the Mets catching staff, all 3 of them, very healthy and very productive. 0-1 to Darling. foul tip, 0-2. 2-0 Mets here in the bottom of the second inning. The Mets with only one hit and a shaky first inning with one out. Juan Samuel walked on a 3-2 count. He stole second base in the process. Jack Clark, actually Samuel was picked off. Clark underthrew Gary Templeton, the shortstop. Samuel went to third on the error. Howard Johnson walked, and with Johnson running and 2 outs, Rasmussen uncorked a wild pitch. Samuel scored, and then McReynolds with a 2-out single. It's 2-0 New York with Keith Miller on deck. Way outside, a ball and 2 strikes to Darling. Another curve, lifted foul down the right field line. Still 1-2. Inside, ball 2-2. No consistent release point for Rasmussen, Ralph. He's all over the place. Darling fouls it back, still 2-2. That can be an advantage. David Cohn, for instance, has a lot of varying release points, but he's consistent with his control for the most part. Drop down on right-handers. This one hit deep to right center over is Chris James, and he'll make the play for the third out. The Mets go in order, and after 2, it's 2-0 New York, and we're back after this from Budweiser. It's a street lamp in left field. We got you, folks. Now we'll pull back. See, we're an hour away from the eclipse of the sun. 1-1. Boy, that Jeff Mitchell's a tricky little devil, isn't he, Ralph? Yeah, Hojo, there is the Hojo eclipse. Hojo is between the camera and the street lamp, so that's a third base eclipse. Hojo he's gonna eclipse all numbers this year with the way he's going. 1-2 to Leon Biff Rogers. Check swing, still 1-2.
Roberts has got to be a good ball player. He's born on the right day, October 27th. Not many of us born on that day.
Foul back, still 1-2. Yeah, I was born on October 16th. We never had our birthday wishes during the season, you know?
The only game I ever saw, a playoff game, that ended at, of course, 86. The Mets won it on October 27th. Won it on my birthday in 86.
World champions for the second time. Easy play for Keith Miller. 1 out here in the third, 2-0. Mets on top. Roberto Alomar coming up. Alomar walked in the first inning.
Second baseman
Padres have stranded 3, but they did have Alomar thrown out at home plate in the first inning after Kevin McReynolds made the catch. Kevin's 8th assist of the year. Strike 1, 0-1.
Well, Roberto Alomar needs 3 home runs to pass his dad for home runs in the major leagues, and from that day on, his dad won't be able to tell him anything about hitting.
His dad about 88 feet away in the third base coach's box. What a nice man. Got to be awfully proud of 2 sons playing professional baseball, and It's really amazing, Ralph, that Sandy Alomar Jr. hasn't surfaced somewhere in the major leagues this year after all the hubbub last winter.
He's more publicized than Roberto, and Roberto's an established major leaguer.
Yeah. Ball and 2 strikes to Roberto Alomar.
Sandy Alomar, senior, hit 13 major league home runs.
Low, ball 2, 2-2. Roberto and his brother Sandy Jr. have played together in the minor leagues. They played together in 1985 and 87. Line to left, base hit. So Alomar with the 4th Padre hit, and the batter Tony Gwynn.
Center fielder Tony Gwynn.
Ron Darling off 2 consecutive complete games, the first time in his major league career that he has had 2 straight complete games. He is in double figures in wins for the 6th straight season.
Only one Mets pitcher had more.
He had his number retired. Ball 1 to Gwynn.
Number 41. Tom Seaver had 10 double-figure years
in a row. Split finger, swinging a foul tip. 1-1 to Tony Gwynn, leading the National League in hitting. And he doubled his first time up.
Well, a good split finger right there. He has a lifetime average of .331. This is his 8th year in the major leagues.
I don't think anybody works at his business any harder than Tony Gwynn. When the Padres play home games, he swings at least at 100 balls a day extra, at least.
And he has videotapes, hundreds of them, that he studies.
Wow, look at that. 5-12 lifetime against Ron Darling. There goes Alomar. And this one fouled back, 1-2. So Alomar was running the first time Gwynn was up. He responded with a double to left field. And this time, Gwynn fouls it back. With those types of numbers against Darling, Ralph, I don't know if I'd be hitting and running with Gwynn. I'd kind of let him choose a pitch.
Let him be selective.
Yeah.
Well, Gwynn, an ideal man to be hitting on a hit and run play. He makes great contact, very tough to strike out. And, of course, he's got a .331 lifetime batting average.
Well, he's ideal for the hit and run, but if you're hitting someone as well as a guy like Darling, you don't want him to be swinging at a pitch that might not be his pitch. Lined, Elster to Magadan, double play. A 6-3 double play. The Mets have pulled off 2 in most unusual fashion. They lead 2-0, middle of the 3rd. We're back after this from Manufacturers Hanover. Another big crowd on hand, I'd say about 35,000. The Mets, in order to draw 3 million, have to average about 40,000 a game over the remaining, I think, 22 dates, including tonight. Had several rainouts this year. Keith Miller, 1-0 to Keith. He struck out in the first inning. 2-0 New York here in the bottom of the 3rd. 1-1.
Well, the Mets certainly have played very well at home. They have won 41, lost 19 here at Shea Stadium, the best win record at home by any National League team.
Ball and 2 strikes. The roads, obviously another story. We understand that's Darryl Strawberry's son, Darryl Jr. Gosh, has he grown up?
He knows how to pick out a good seat. That isn't his seat. He just goes down there and sits there so he can watch the game closely.
Bobble by Clark, safe at first. The second error by Jack Clark in this ball game, and Miller's at first with nobody out.
The first error was a big error. It set up the Mets' 2-run first inning. This one comes on the leadoff batter, and he can't get the ball to Rasmussen, who was late coming over, in time for the play. So actually an error of omission by Rasmussen, not getting there in time. But Clark had the play by himself if he had fielded the ball. He's now made 9 errors this year.
Juan Samuel. He scored the first run of the game. He walked, stole second. Clark threw it into left field. He went to third and scored on a wild pitch. Look for Miller to run. Interesting confrontation. Santiago looking over in the Padre dugout. The Padre pitching coach, Pat Dobson, probably calls pitch outs. This one grounded foul, 0-1.
Pat Dobson, one of 4 20-game winners with the Baltimore Orioles.
Dauber is 2 down from Jack McKeon. There he is. There's Pat. Sometimes you don't know whether those signs are decoys or whether he actually calls pitch outs. Check swing foul ball, 0-2 to Samuel. Nice shot of Darryl Strawberry Jr. I guess children must get tired of adults saying, gee, aren't you getting big?
What else do you say? You're getting small, you're not growing?
You can't say you're getting smaller. They have to grow. I mean, most children do. Still 0-2.
I see you recovered from the first annual Billy Webb golf tournament on Monday, Tim.
Oh, yeah. Over at Poor Henry's over in New Jersey.
Last time I saw you, you were right there at that piano bar.
Singing along. Don't remember the tunes offhand, but
one thing about that place, it was so crowded you could sing off key and nobody would have known the difference.
There goes Miller. Breaking ball ripped to left field, and it's by Roberts. Miller's going to score, and Samuel's going to have a double. 3-0 New York. It looked like a lazy slider right up in the eyes of Juan Samuel, but not for long.
Oh, Samuel with a big jump. He got picked off the last time he was on base. And this ball ripped out to the corner in left field, as Samuel will score easily. It's played out there by Roberts. I should say Miller scores easily, and Samuel goes into second. So Miller running with the play, and he was on in the air.
So Miller scoring. It's 3-0 New York. Still nobody out, and Howard Johnson, the batter, who walked, went to second on a wild pitch and scored a run on Kevin McReynolds' 63rd RBI of the year. The Mets are putting something together. They were last year, also in 1986. And things were slow for the first 3.5 months this year, but they have got their machine oiled and running well on all 4 cylinders. 0-1 to Johnson. Santiago smothers the breaking ball in the dirt, so Sammy had to stay at second. It's 1-1 to Johnson. Darryl Strawberry on deck. Well, it's raining here at Shea, as you can see in your screen. Umbrellas are going up. Sharply to left base hit. Samuel had to hold, and he'll hold at third. That's the third hit for the Mets, and they have runners at first and third and nobody out.
Well, Howard Johnson had walked in the 3-2 pitch his first time up.
Right fielder.
And he gets his official at bat here as he singles in the left field. Samuel had to hold at second to see whether or not it would go through so he wouldn't be trapped off base. And now runners at first and third with no one out.
Pete Flynn and his ground crew have been working overtime the last 5 days. The 3 games against the Cardinals, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. They got him in. Nobody knows how. Ripped to right by Strawberry. Great play, James. Samuel will score. But what a play by Chris James, the right fielder. 4-0 New York.
Well, this is just an outstanding play by James. If it gets by him, it's at least a 2-base hit. 2 runs would have scored, and he turns it into an out. No time at bat for Strawberry, but certainly robbed of an extra base hit and probably 2 runs batted in.
Yeah, I think Johnson would have scored on that ball. Might have been a triple. So a good play by CJ, affectionately known as CJ. And a swing and a miss by McReynolds, 0-1. He drove in Johnson with a single in the first inning. It's now 4-0 Mets, 2 in the first and 2 here in the third. And it looks like Mark Grant up and throwing for the Padres, the right-hander. Breaking ball is high, 1-1. Nope, it's Don Schultze,
former Mets player.
Here's Don.
He's played with so many different teams in so many different cities, you could almost say he could play with a lot of people.
2 balls and a strike to McReynolds. Field in is Bip Roberts, and he makes the play. 2 out here in the third, and Dave Magadan, the batter. Dave fly deep to center. His first at bat.
First baseman Dave Magadan.
Chicago won and Cincinnati won that game in the bottom of the 4th inning.
With Cincinnati still hitting in the bottom of the 4th. The Cubs entered the action 3.5 games in front of the second-place Mets. Montreal 4 back. The Cardinals 5.5 back. They have won 3 in a row since losing 4 or 5 to New York over the weekend. And a strike to Magadan, 0-1.
Just 2 home runs away from being in the 30-30 club for the second time.
Johnson had an idea about going, but Rasmussen threw over there, so Hojo stopped. 31 steals on the year. He's been caught only 3 times. Ball right side, Alomar. Two sensational plays by the Padres, one by James and now by Alomar, prevent total disaster for the Padres. The Mets tack on 2 more. They did it with 2 hits. An error was a key in the inning. It's 4-0 New York after 3, and we're back after this from Michelob Dry. This is authorized under television rights granted by the New York Mets solely for the entertainment of our audience. Publication, reproduction, or use of the pictures, descriptions, and accounts of this game without the written consent of the New York Mets, Sterling Doubleday Enterprises, and WWOR-TV is prohibited. Any commercial or other use of the program, such as by charging admission for its showing, is similarly prohibited. Here's Steve Zabriskie, and I'm sorry I didn't wait for you to read that because you read it with so much eloquence.
Well, thank you, sir.
So much aplomb.
And so rapidly, usually.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
We
How
all
you
have to
doing,
read it. Good, great. How are you?
All right.
And a good evening to you all as Jack Clark rips one foul. So strike 1 to Clark, who is leading off the 4th inning with New York leading 4-0 and the rain falling. And see you later.
As Jack Clark goes disgustedly to the dugout, we'll take a look at the Nissan National League scoreboard. 1-0 San Francisco over Montreal in the 6th. They won 3-2 last night. We'll talk about that in a minute. Chicago at Cincinnati 1-1 in the 5th. 2-0 Philadelphia over LA in the 4th. No score Atlanta at St. Louis or Pittsburgh at Houston. And what a tragedy last night in Montreal, Steve.
Dave Dravecky, who had just warmed everybody's heart, broke everybody's heart when his arm broke. Throwing a pitch last night. That story is certainly not over, but what a bizarre and sad twist after such a tremendous comeback. Swinging a miss by James, who popped out to second his first time up. James right now working on an 18-game hitting streak over which he's hit .385. Since he joined the Padres from Philadelphia back on June 2nd, he's hitting .302. So he has certainly responded to that drive by Darryl Strawberry. Fly ball into short right center field. Miller out there, and he makes the catch in between Samuel and Strawberry for out number 2. Well, let's look at the Nissan American League scoreboard. The Brewers, a clean sweep of the Yankees. It's 5-1. That's a final. I think that's a sweep. I'm not sure whether they play tomorrow. We'll find that out. It is a sweep, we understand. 7-3 California over Minnesota. Final. 3-1 Texas over Seattle. No score Baltimore, Detroit. 2-0 Boston over Toronto. That game now in the bottom of the 3rd. Kansas City 1-0 over Chicago, and Cleveland at Oakland a little later on. Foul back and out of play by Mike Pagliarulo. We got a little shot of the eclipse early there.
Great. Jeff Mitchell tricking us. There's some more eclipses right there.
Nice rain hats. Those are going to work for a long time. Change those early and often.
Protecting the moss, huh? Man.
Breaking ball low. 1 ball, 2 strikes. They're going to anything here. That'll only work for the crown of the head. The rest of them is not going to stay dry. Ground ball to second. Miller's been busy, and he handles this one, and the inning is over. The Padres go in order in the 4th, and the Mets still lead at 4-0 behind Ron Darling after 3.5. Back after this for your Lincoln Mercury dealer. And now the pizza boxes are being used. Anything, any port in a storm. A lot of folks brought their umbrellas, but probably almost as many did not.
That pizza box is going to last a lot longer than those dudes' napkins that they had.
They better have a lot of napkins. Bottom of the order for the Mets here in the bottom half of the 4th as Gary Carter leads it off and takes low ball 1. Carter grounded to 3rd, his first time up, leading off the 2nd inning. Gary's growing a little upper lip moss there. Sharply outside 3rd, a foul ball, and it's 1-1. I asked Gary in the clubhouse today, any particular reason? He said, no, just to do something different.
Well, for for that reason alone, you can understand it. Boy, this has been a tough year for the kid, even though he has played well since returning July 25th.
Line drive off the glove of Rasmussen. Good play by Alomar, and he gets Carter, who, of course, cannot run. So Rasmussen slowed it down, or it would have been a base hit. Carter's hit in 4 of his last 5 games.
This ball would have clearly been through there had Rasmussen not put a glove on it. Used all of his 6'7" to protect himself and to eventually get an out. Preservation, the first thing he had in mind.
That's right, just get that glove out. So Gary the first out of the inning, and here's Kevin Elster, who flied to shallow right field in the second. Good breaking ball for strike 1. Elster now has a career high in RBIs with 39 this year. One ball, one strike. And those 39 make him 4th in the league. Down low, 2-1. When you look at the names of those other shortstops, those guys ordinarily don't hit 8th in the order either. And 8th in the order is a little tougher place from which not only to hit but to drive in runs. On the corner, 2 balls, 2 strikes.
And it's been tougher for Kevin, as you see Darling on deck. It's been a lot tougher for Kevin this year because the bottom part of the order has not been as productive as it has been in years past. So he has really picked it up with the bat.
Hitting .326 over his last 28 games. Another breaking ball, this one high, so a full count to Elster with 1 out and nobody on. And Davey Johnson has said that for the foreseeable near term anyway, Elster and Miller are the middle infielders. Fly ball into center field. Wind broke in a step, but has plenty of time to drift back, and there are 2 out.
The pitcher, Ron Darling.
Balls hit in the air can be tough when it's raining.
Balls hit in the air are outs. Balls hit in the air are outs. And that's really what a young hitter has to tell himself. Get down on the ball. Home runs are fine, but not a lot of guys can hit a lot of home runs. And balls in the air are outs. That's why hitting coaches tell hitters to hit the ball from a line drive down. That's why they try to encourage that.
And there's the Mets hitting instructor Bill Robinson. Hit the ball hard somewhere, but not up in the air. And that's when this up the chute. Benito handles it, and the inning is over. So the Mets go in order in their half of the 4th inning, but still lead the Padres 4-0 after 4. And we're back after this for Paramount Pictures' Let It Ride. Well, I think they're going to just say, let's cover the field right now. Harry Wendelstadt, the third base umpire and crew chief, motioning for the grounds crew to come out and cover the field just as Benito Santiago stepped into the batter's box for San Diego. So Pete and the boys, Pete Flynn right there in the middle of the tarp roller, will hustle to try to get it covered up because it is raining harder now than before.
This game not yet official. It's 4-0 New York, but you've got to, if the home team is leading, you must play at least 4.5 innings to make the game official.
So the Mets are a half an inning away from having the lead in this official game, or this game being official. What in the world is that?
It's like a vat of hot ice.
Or was that a light that the rain was hitting on?
Might be another trick by Jeff Mitchell to
those are lights.
Get us to think that it's another eclipse.
Well, with the weather the way it is right now, it's going to be very difficult for anybody near here to see the eclipse tonight. So while they cover the field and we are in a rain delay, we will take the timeout. The Mets are leading 4-0 as we're almost ready to start the fifth. We'll be back after this for Sears.
We're here at the 18th hole of this light beer open, and we've seen some real unusual shots today.
You said it.
Hey, Bob, I think you got a birdie.
Elsie, how am I supposed to hit it through this tree?
No problem, Bert.
How's Yuka going to get out of this one?
That calls for another light beer from Miller.
Make it 2, 3, 4. It's a good thing light's less filling.
John, the last player's approaching the tee.
And when it goes to 100, you sell. I won't be long, girls. Hold my calls, will you? It hit the weather vane. It's in the drain. Here it comes out. It's going on the green. It's going in the hole.
Light beer from Miller. Everything you always wanted in a beer, and less.
This open ought to be closed.
While they finish putting the finishing touches on the field and take the second half of the tarp up, we have a special treat for you. Ed Berman of the WWOR crew here at Shea has put together a music video. So let's pretend that we're MTV and look at the special presentation.
Today
Well, just a great job by Ed Berman. And, of course, John Fogerty's put me in, coach. I'm ready to play center field. That was really nice. We were about ready to play, but first, let's have a glass of Tropicana, shall we? Why not? Rasmussen, the starter for San Diego, against Darling when there's a lengthy rain delay, such as this one of over an hour, and they have to go back out there.
Yeah, there is a major problem when the pitchers have to warm up twice after 2 rain delays. It's less serious after 1, and I think Darling's going to be all right. It appears to me that if Rasmussen does bat, he will be the hitter, the 3rd hitter up here in the 5th inning. Jack McKeon will use a pinch hitter for Dennis, with the Padres trailing 4-0.
So with Rasmussen, it could be a moot point. It'll be the bottom 3rd of the order for San Diego. As you see the players loosening up. Benito Santiago had stepped into the batter's box and was ready to go when Harry Wendelstadt, the third base umpire and crew chief, called the game at that, or not called the game, but called time.
You can see the wet spots around the infield area at first base, second base, almost all the positions right around second, but the field does appear to be in very good playing condition, considering the amount of rain that it took. Of course, the outfield is going to be very wet. There's some wet spots in the warning track, straightaway center field, and over toward left center, puddles of water. But it appears that the field's in pretty good playing conditions, considering the games that the Mets have played over the last 5 days, 6 days. It's in good playing condition.
As usual, Pete Flynn and his ground crew doing an outstanding job.
Yes, sir.
So we start the 5th inning with the Mets leading 4-0, and Benito Santiago takes high for ball 1. Santiago had a base hit to right field his first time up and then stole second. Then he pops this one up. It's going to be out of play past the Mets dugout, and it's 1-1. Gary Templeton to follow, and then, as you mentioned, Timmy, probably a pinch hitter for Dennis Rasmussen. Grounded to short. Elster smooth as always, out number 1.
The shortstop, Gary Templeton.
Darling has allowed 4 hits, and Templeton has one of them, an infield base hit in the 2nd inning. And he takes a strike. Base hit over the bag down the right field line. Templeton will have at least 2 as Strawberry gets to it quickly. And Templeton appears to be limping a little bit.
Yeah, he had missed 6 games in late July and early August. He had strained ligaments in his right leg. And Leon Bip Roberts played shortstop 6 straight games and did a good job. His first time ever playing short. Tempe limping into second base, but there in early August, he was almost Wally Bipped.
The reference, of course, to Wally Bipp, for whom Lou Gehrig played, and that was it for Pip. Bipp, incidentally, has played 6 different positions now that he's played shortstop.
Right.
He has not played first, pitched, or caught. Tim Flannery, the pinch hitter for Dennis Rasmussen, and Flannery takes low and inside ball 1. Flannery hitting .304 as a pinch hitter, but .243 overall. To right field, Strawberry back a few steps, and it's out number 2.
Montreal has won their game. The Cubs probably will win their game. They are leading 5-1. Cincinnati batting in the bottom of the 9th inning. Montreal winning 4-2 over the Giants. And going into tonight's action, the Mets, there you see the Montreal game. The Cardinals are still losing to Atlanta 1-0 in the 7th. Cardinals 5.5 back, Montreal 4, and the Mets 3.5 behind the Cubs.
To left field, Kevin McReynolds with an easy play and another easy inning, albeit a double and one left here in the top half of the 5th for Ron Darling. Still 4-0 New York after 4.5. The game is official, and we're back after this for your Dodge dealer.
I'll tell you, we never realized golf was such a tough game.
Hey, it's a lot easier hitting a quarterback than a little white ball. So us Linksters drink light beer from Miller.
Not just because light tastes great, but because it's got a third less calories than a regular beer.
And it's less filling.
And you can't afford to get filled up when you're out there trying to get birdies.
Yeah, those things move awfully fast.
Light beer from Miller. Everything you always wanted in a beer, and less.
A member of many, many teams, Don Schulze in relief of Dennis Rasmussen. Schulze 2-1 with no saves and a 4.80 earned run average. As Rasmussen only able to go 4 innings. Rasmussen charged with all 4 runs on 3 hits. He struck out 2 and walked 2, and he was hurt, of course, by 2 errors by Jack Clark. So Schulze in relief as we go to the bottom of the 5th with the New York Mets leading 4-0. And to call it for you, Tim McCarver.
All right, thanks a lot, Steve. Don Schulze from Rosedale, Illinois. He was the first-round draft choice of the Cubs back in 1980, and he joined the Chicago Cubs in 1983. He was with Cleveland in 84 and 85, and also 1986. And then he came to the Mets in 1987. He was traded to the Mets for outfielder Ricky Nelson, and then granted free agency on October 15th of 1987. He went on, signed with the Twins, was traded to the Detroit Tigers. He was with the Yankees earlier this year and came to the San Diego Padres along with Mike Pagliarulo for Walt Terrell. So the long history of Don Schulze, and he's back here at Shea pitching. A grounder toward third. An easy play for Pagliarulo, 1 out, as Keith Miller hits the first pitch to Pags. And Juan Samuel coming up. 4-0 Mets on top. That is a litany of cities for which Don has played and pitched.
Pagliarulo making the play, and he did have to make a strong throw because the ball was hit high, and Miller runs very well.
Samuel 1 for 1. He has scored 2 runs, and he also had an RBI double in the 3rd inning. A bunt attempt. And he fails. It's 0-2 to Sammy. Entered the game batting .253 overall and .259 as a New York Met. Slider tapped foul. Still 0-2.
Samuel, since being moved into the number 2 spot in the order, where he seems to have found a home, is hitting .290, well above his season average.
Sammy Perlazzo, his 5th year as a Mets coach, and boy, is he a good one. Very, very important part of a ball club is your third base coach, as Schulze retires Juan Samuel on strikes. The first strikeout for Don Schulze, and Howard Johnson coming up. Jack McKeon in his first full year as the manager of the Padres, took over May 27th of last year for Larry Boa.
I was talking to Trader Jack this afternoon before the game, and the conversation was about players who ride the bus to the ballpark, and most of them don't really. Most of them come earlier than that. Jack was lamenting the fact that back when he was playing, or as he put it, trying to play, was a catcher. Right? They didn't have buses to bring players to the ballpark, especially, of course, in the minor leagues.
This one hit deep to right center. It could be home run number 29, and is 5-0 New York. That one hit in the direction of where the San Diego buses are parked, by the way. Just an aside.
Howard Johnson is still the only 20-20 man in Major League Baseball. And he is now one home run away from becoming a 30-30 man with 30 home runs and 30 stolen bases. He has now 29 homers on the year.
Strawberry takes a slider. Darryl 0 for 1, but his 64th RBI on a sparkling play by Chris James, the right fielder, in the third inning. This one hit deep to right. James is back. Out of here, Strawberry. 6-0 New York. That one was closer to the San Diego buses. What a ride.
Not that many players may ride the bus, but you could have ridden that ball by Strawberry right on out of town. That was a rocket. Both those balls were crushed.
McReynolds now. Ball 1. Crowd hollering for Darryl. 1-1. That was a chance started during the 1986 World Series up in Boston.
Here's Hojo's 29th, and I mean, this is becoming a familiar sight. The kids, he turned on that fastball.
Ball 2, 2-1 to McReynolds.
Now let's take a look at Strawberry's laser beam over the right field fence. There's a San Diego bus in the background. Talk about a ride. That bus couldn't have caught up to that baseball.
It's a real bus stop right there. Right, the bus stopped it. 2 balls and a strike to McReynolds. Strike 2, 2-2. 6-0. The Mets with 2 in the first, third, and fifth.
Look out there and expect to see Don Murray and Marilyn Monroe.
I think that was 1954.
I think you're right.
Inside, ball 3. 3-2 to McReynolds.
There are the buses. Darryl came close to putting out one of those windows.
The slider gets McReynolds, but dramatically Johnson and Strawberry homer. And it's now 6-0 Mets after 5, and we're back after this from Budweiser. Who walked in the first inning and singled in the third inning, is 1 for 1. And he takes strike 1. 2 balls and a strike to Roberto Alomar. Jay Harwitz tells us that that is the 4th back-to-back home run this year as Alomar bunts in front of the plate and Carter throws him out. 1 away. The 4th time this year that the Mets have hit back-to-back home runs, and the first since July 3rd. Strawberry and Johnson, or Johnson and Strawberry, doing it in the bottom of the 5th inning.
And the Mets lead the National League with 111 home runs. And back on this day in baseball history, Mr. Kiner hit 3 consecutive home runs against St. Louis. That was in 1947, and the Pirates won that game in Forbes Field 12-7.
As Tony Gwynn takes strike one, 0-1 to Tony. The next year, I had mentioned earlier that it was 32 years since Babe Ruth's death. I was incorrect. It was 1948, and that was 41 years ago. So today, the anniversary of Ralph, who hit 3 consecutive home runs 42 years ago, and the Babe dying the next year on that date. This one hit to deep right field, but Strawberry is there. Not enough oomph for Tony Gwynn, who is now 1 for 3.
Cubs win again. I can hear Harry now.
Cubs win! Cubs win! Cubs win!
A stereo Harry Carey. I don't know if I can take it. Harry in stereo.
Jack Clark now the batter. 6-0 Mets on top. Ron Darling trying for his career-high 3rd straight complete game. Clark is struck out and flied into a double play. A most unusual double play in the first inning, Steve, and really the game was turned around before it was underway.
Yeah, the Padres had something going. They had 2 on with 1 out. Alomar trying to score on a fly ball to left field, and McReynolds with the throw, and Carter with a fine play to make the tag on Alomar for the double play.
Ground ball left side. Good play, Johnson. He slipped in throwing, but he nails his man. As the Padres go in order, still 6-0 Mets after 5.5, and we're back after this from the 9X Yellow Pages. Dave Magadan leads it off for the Mets here in the bottom of the 6th. The Mets with 2 runs in the first inning, 2 runs in the 3rd, and 2 runs in the 5th. Ron Darling tries to win his 11th game of the season. This game delayed in the top of the 5th inning, a little over an hour because of rain. New York area has been pummeled with rain for the last week, and we hope that it's over. It's supposed to brighten up tomorrow and through the weekend. Magadan 0 for 2 on the evening, facing Don Schulze, the 2nd Padre pitcher, and the slider for a strike. The Mets 12 games over 500 for the first time this year. High, ball 1, 1-1. 41-19 at home.
Best record in baseball at home. They have a 1-game better record than the Oakland A's at home.
Change is high. 2 balls and 1 strike. Afternoon game tomorrow. Bruce Hurst and Frank Viola. Well, what a matchup of 2 sparkling left-handers tomorrow afternoon. If you have a chance, come on out to Shea. 1:35 game time. And then a weekend series against the Dodgers. And that Saturday game has been changed to an afternoon game, by the way.
It'll start at 2:25 on Saturday instead of 1:35. So if you have tickets for Saturday's Dodger game, 2:25 is game time.
The matchup for that series, as it's 3-2 to Magadan. David Cohn against Oral Hershiser Friday night at 7:35. Bobby Ojeda against John Wetland on Saturday. Sid Fernandez against Ramon Martinez Sunday afternoon. And this one's line to left, base hit for Magadan, his first of the night.
The catcher, Gary Carter.
We'll be on the air at 1:30 Sunday afternoon. The Mets just playing terrific baseball right now. 3.5 games behind the Cubs. Gary Carter the batter. Gary 0 for 3. Make that 0 for 2. A couple of ground outs. He did, however, hit the ball sharply his last time up off the glove of Dennis Rasmussen, fielded by Alomar, a 1-4-3 putout. High, ball one.
Since starting to play fairly regularly, Carter has hit in 4 of his last 5, hitting .615 coming into this game, and has taken the ball up the middle more so.
2-0. Those 23 home runs against the Padres includes those 2 remarkable days at Jack Murphy Stadium back in '86 when he had 5 home runs in 2 games. Slider is high, 3-0 to Carter.
Jack Murphy Stadium, not exactly a home run haven either.
Neither is Shea Stadium.
No, that's a tough park to hit it out.
338 down the lines, 358 into the position, 371 in right center. Grounded sharply on the 3-0 count. Fielded by Pagliarulo over to Alomar, who returns it to Jack Clark for a round-the-horn double play. So 2 outs and Kevin Elster coming up.
Carter hits it hard, but he hits it down by the trademark. And, of course, Gary unable to run and an easy double play victim. If the ball doesn't get through the infield, Carter is in trouble.
Kevin Elster now swing and a miss, 0-1. Kevin 0 for 2. He has flied to right and flied to center. 6-0 Mets on top here in the 6th inning. Have to wait another 4 years for the eclipse too, right?
That's right.
Or the eclipse.
The eclipse. Yeah. And because of the cloud cover, I don't know that we're going to be able to get a shot of it. It's going on right now.
Yeah.
It's eclipse in Memphis, right?
That's correct.
Yeah.
And Memphis came out once again. This one is fouled off down the first baseline. The ball and 2 strikes to Kevin Elster.
That is not the eclipse. It's not even an eclipse. Stop doing that, Jeff. Showing those street lights. Eclipse goes along with cement and insurance.
Insurance.
The accent on the wrong syllable.
Ball and 2 strikes to Kevin Elster. 2 outs here in the 6th. 6-0 Mets on top.
Well, since we can't see it, it doesn't make any difference what we call it.
Line to foul. Still 1-2 to Kevin.
I heard a story.
The next one is when? 1992? 91 or 2.
Yes, sir. Hope we're around for it.
Well, that's a positive statement. What do you mean? We only hope we're around for it.
Only kidding.
Yeah, 2-2 to Elster.
I heard a story.
You mean here or anywhere?
That's right, anywhere. No, here. I heard a story about a guy down in the East Village in Manhattan who has a telescope, and he charges people to look through it at the eclipse, and he's got a moon taped, a picture of the moon taped on the end of the telescope. And people pay for that.
3-2 to Elster.
He calls it an eclipse, though.
Rather gullible people, I would think. Still 3-2 to Elster.
They're especially gullible when you realize that you don't need a telescope to see the eclipse.
Slider drill down the third baseline. Elster's going to try for a double. Roberts' throw is too late, and Elster has his 18th double of the year, and he's at second with 2 outs. And Ron Darling coming up.
The pitcher.
Well, if there's anything better than a 2-out base hit, it's a 2-out extra base hit, especially when nobody's on base, because gets you in scoring position. Paliarulo with a fine effort, but the ball really hit too sharply for him to be able to make the play.
And now that you bring it up, there's only one thing better than a two-out base hit, and that's celebrating that win and double with an ice-cold Budweiser. Mets fans, this Bud's for you. And if the Mets can hold on to the 6-run lead, and Ron Darling can hold on to it, they will win their 66th game of the 1989 season. And Darling takes a fastball high. Mets scored 2 in the first, 2 in the third, 2 in the fifth, and lead 6-0. Inside, the ball thrown to second by Santiago, and boy, do you have to be close with that man behind the plate.
He just made a better throw from his knees than he did earlier coming out of in a crouch.
What a gun.
Watch this. I mean, he doesn't even move. He's on his knees.
Spends so much time on his knees, he must pray standing up. It makes it look so easy too when he's down there. I mean, he can stay on top of his throws from his knees. Now, I have never seen a better arm from behind home plate, and maybe this game has never seen a better arm from behind the plate. Three and one to Darling. 2 outs, Elster at second. 6-0 New York on top. Ground ball left side. Templeton will go to first base to get Darling. The Mets don't score in the 6th. They did have a couple of hits. They strand 1, and after 6, it's 6-0 New York. Ralph joins Steve after this from Manufacturers Hanover.
Able to see the eclipse tonight. We'll bring it to you. This is how it looks when it happens in time-lapse photography, you see. But it's not really the eclipse. With the cloud cover, we can't see it, so the crew made up their own eclipse. I think that's pretty clever, though.
And remember, folks, you saw it here.
Yeah, and not first, but last. Well, here's a guy who's clever, Ralph Kiner.
Okay. Steve, top of the 7th inning, the Mets leading 6-0, and Darling starts off with his first pitch. And it's hit foul down the right field line. The batter, Chris James.
That might have hit a fan. Someone down the right field line looked like they were going to catch that ball, and Strawberry went over and gave it to them as a souvenir. I hope they're not hurt.
Darling was 67 pitches through the first 6 innings, and of course about an hour and 8-minute rain delay in between. And here's the pitch back for a ball. 1 ball, 1 strike. Chris James 0 for 2. He brought an 18-game hitting streak into this game, batting .386 over the 8 games. Home run in last night's ball game to right center field. And this one hit out to fairly deep left center field. McReynolds makes the call and catch, and Chris James now 0 for 3. He's been really a hot batter. .381 in his last 27 games.
And .385 over the 18-game hitting streak coming into tonight.
That'll bring up Mike Paliarulo, 0 for 2 against the Mets. And he hits it foul down the right side.
Well, the ball girl made a good play, but the fan didn't, as he leaned over the railing and the gate came open. Notice how he holds on to his beverage, however. Well, see, she makes the play, and here he comes. He loses half of it, but he holds on to the cup.
Giving me for effort on that one, and it's 1-1 to Paliarulo. Mike 0 for 2 with a pop-up and a ground out. Now fooled by the split-finger fastball. Paliarulo playing in his first game against the Mets. And the curveball just does miss. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Paliarulo, a .229 lifetime batter in 6 years. He's had 105 home runs, and he is struck out. Split finger fastball gets him.
The catcher, Benito.
Only Darling's second strikeout, but that is not a measure of his effectiveness tonight.
That'll bring up Benito Santiago. Benito 1 for 2 tonight. His single was to right field, and the overhand curveball for ball 1.
Now that shot right there will give you an indication of what trying to hit the breaking ball is like. And for any physicists out there who say that curveballs are optical illusions, take a look at that one.
1-1. You know, when they start to explain this, the curveball, what do they do with the knuckleball? And that pitch is swung on and fouled, and 1 ball, 2 strike count.
Well, I think they accept the knuckleball more so because of the air forces having a buffeting effect on it, all that stuff in physics without any rotation on the ball.
Same air against the same ball.
But then
it has no rotation.
That's right. Well, when you convince them, though, that the curveball actually curves, which, of course, most people now realize.
This ball hit to shallow left field. Elster coming into view, but McReynolds makes the play, and the Padres go in order. That's 8 in a row for Ron Darling, and the score at the end of 6.5 innings. The Mets 6, San Diego nothing. And here's a word from your daddy, Keith Miller, to lead it off.
There's Bud Harrelson in the Mets dugout, and Buddy will be one of the many former Mets and current Mets coaches at the Mets Adult Baseball Fantasy Camp Ultimate Week in February at Port St. Lucie. So if you'd like information on the Mets Baseball Fantasy Camp, join Buddy and the boys for fun in the Florida sun. During regular business hours, call 800-525-METS. 800-525-METS.
Keith Miller to lead it off for the Mets here in the 7th inning. Mets leading 6-0. Miller 0 for 3 tonight. He is 0 for 11 in his major league career against the Padres. And Schultze with his first pitch, and it's a breaking ball for a called strike. Schultze pitched for the Mets, was in 5 ball games, had a record of 1-2. And another breaking ball for a ball. That's 1 ball and 1 strike. Miller has struck out, reached on an error, and also has grounded out. And he hits it in the air to center field. Over there quickly is Gwynn, and he makes the play. So Miller 0 for 4 tonight.
Center fielder,
let's check out the Nissan National League scoreboard. Montreal beat the Giants 4-2. The Cubs won again, beating Cincinnati 5-1. Philadelphia over the Dodgers 6-2. Atlanta leads St. Louis 2-0, and Pittsburgh leads Houston. The Astros trying to pick up some ground on the Giants, not being able to do so at this point, trailing Pittsburgh 4-2.
Juan Samuel stepping in. Juan has walked and scored. He has doubled and scored. He also has struck out in the first pitch, strike 1.
Sammy saying he thought that ball was outside and high. Of course, Gary Darling, the home plate umpire, does not agree.
He is a very close cousin to Ron Darling, the pitcher for the Mets. That's why he was umpiring in tonight's game, to make sure Darling could win the game. And there's a swing at a breaking ball.
You better tell the truth, Ralph, because people are going to believe that.
No relation whatsoever, but an odd circumstance with Gary Darling, the umpire, and Ron Darling on the mound.
And if they were related, Gary Darling would not be able to umpire the game behind the plate.
You think that's true?
I'll bet you that's true.
Well, Tom Haller, the catcher, had a brother that was an umpire, but he was in the American League when Tom was in the National League.
I think they would do something about that. Change the rotation, put him on a base.
The 2-strike pitch, and again the breaking ball, and Samuel is struck out for the second time by Schulte.
Third baseman.
Now we'll bring you the Nissan American League scoreboard. Milwaukee over the Yankees again, 5-1. California beat Minnesota 7-3. Texas over Seattle 3-1. Detroit shut out Baltimore 4-0. Toronto is leading Boston 5-3. Kansas City leading Chicago 3-1, and Cleveland leading Oakland 2-0.
And now the batter for the Mets, the hitting star of the ball game, Howard Johnson. Howard walked his first time up, singled his second, and homered his third. He now has 29 home runs. And he has 31 stolen bases, and that adds up to one more home run to be in the 30-30 club. That club has sort of been diminished in stature since Canseco became a member of the 40-40 club last year. Only man to do that. Bobby Bonds came close. And the fastball for ball 2.
It is conceivable, possible, albeit perhaps not as probable as possible, that Howard Johnson could achieve a 40-40 season this year.
Needs 11 home runs and 9 stolen bases, and he has 6 weeks to go. The 2-0 pitch. And he hits it foul. Ball drifting over toward the stands and out of play.
The other thing that Hojo's working on is in basketball, you'd call this a triple-double right here. 30-30-30 club. He's 1 home run away from the 30-30-30 club. Canseco, of course, with just a phenomenal year last year. But the triple 30s, very close for Hojo.
You see where Bobby Bonds missed the 40-40 club by not getting 40 home runs. He had 39.
Right. Strawberry just 1 home run and 4 stolen bases away from doing it himself.
And that pitch is called a strike on the inside corner, 2-2. On deck is Darryl Strawberry. Ken Williams, an interesting story in that stat. He did his 30-30 job when stolen bases weren't a big factor, and also when home runs weren't that big a factor. 1922, and that was with. And if you recall, it was about 1922 that Babe Ruth hit the scene as a home run hitter.
Babe began to change things especially after he gave up pitching.
Pitched for the Boston Red Sox and actually has a perfect record as a pitcher for the Yankees. He was 5-0 as a pitcher for the Yankees. And one of the all-time great pitchers.
Didn't he have a great season pitching for Boston in like 1919?
He had some great seasons for Boston as a pitcher. He played the outfield some of the time when he was pitching. He also held the record in World Series play for some outstanding pitching until Whitey Ford broke that. So Johnson is struck out. It's a 1-2-3 inning for Schulte with 2 strikeouts. And the score at the end is 7, the Mets 6. And the Padres nothing. Now here's a word from Paramount Pictures. Let it ride. For the 8th inning, the Mets leading 6-0, and Gary Templeton will lead it off for San Diego. Gary 2 for 2 in the game, and he takes the first pitch, a called strike. And it's a broken bat ground ball right back to Darling, who snags it. Templeton out.
Well, it's time for a Mets memory, and Mets memories are brought to you by The Whiz. This one, August 29, 1988, Greg Jeffries. With the Mets leading 1-0, hits his first major league home run. It came against Eric Schau here at Shea. Jeffries went 3 for 4 that night, and the Mets won it 6-0, which happens to be the score of the game right now. Remember, nobody beats The Whiz.
So Greg Jeffries not playing tonight, watching the ball game as the Mets lead 6-0, top of the 8th inning, and Luis Salazar will be the pinch hitter for the pitcher Don Schultze, and the curveball for ball 1. Darling enjoying the luxury of being able to throw pitches he normally doesn't throw with the 6-run lead. This ball hit to deep left center field. Samuel way back. He uses up all the room he can, and it's gone. Gone goodbye as Salazar breaks up the shutout. And the Padres are on the board.
Salazar's 3rd home run as a pinch hitter. He entered the game tonight hitting .364 coming off the bench. In fact, the Padres have some guys that have done a pretty good job pinch hitting this year. Salazar .265 on the year. He is now 5 for 12 as a pinch hitter.
And it's Bip Roberts to step into the batter's box. He takes a strike. Roberts 0 for 3 tonight. And the split finger, strike 2.
That ball was hit a long way.
And there's a drive down in the left field corner, and it will drop in for an extra base hit. Roberts on his way to second and holding there, and the Padres now coming back.
Let's go back and look at the pinch hit home run by Luis Salazar. I mean, he just drives this ball, and it's a fastball about waist high. It is to the right-hand side or the deep side of the 396 sign, so the ball traveling well over 400 feet. And when you see a ball hit out of Shea anywhere between the 396 signs, it's a poke.
So Roberts on second with 1 man out, and the batter will be Roberto Alomar. So Salazar and Alomar. And Pagliarulo.
And Gwynn, there's Tony. Getting ready.
Hits are even at 7 apiece as Alomar, 1 for 2 tonight, fouls it out of play on the left side.
Those names do not sound like a law firm.
The home run given up by Darling, the 14th he has given up this year. He has not pitched a shutout this year, so he lost a chance at that. He has had 4 complete games. And a drive into right center field, and another run will score. Roberts coming in from second, and it's 6-2. The Mets over the Padres, with the Padres coming back with 2 quick runs here in the 8th inning.
One of the things that make it difficult sometimes for pitchers to pitch well with leads, as this ball is well up in the strike zone, is that, as you mentioned just a minute ago, Ralph, they start doing things that they don't ordinarily do. When they have a big lead, they tend to want to throw the ball over the plate, not walk hitters, and then experiment a little bit and work on things. Mel Stottlemyre's coming out of the dugout now to talk to Ronnie. He was a little disgusted with himself.
And some action starting up in the bullpen for the Mets. Don Aase throwing in the bullpen as the Padres come back with 2 runs here in the 8th with 1 man out. And they have cut the Mets lead to 4 runs. The batter coming up is Tony Gwynn, who leads the National League in hitting.
And one of the things that Mel Stottlemyre is doing is staying out there until Gary Darling, the home plate umpire, comes out and tells him to break it up, to give Aase some time to warm up, because Don just took the hill in the bullpen just before we showed him to you.
Tony Gwynn stepping in. Tony doubled his first time up, lined into a double play his second, and also has flied to right. Batting .342 with 4 home runs, 45 runs batted in. And the first pitch, a fastball for ball one. Gwynn, a lifetime .331 hitter. This is his 8th year in the major leagues. And he has led the league in hitting the last 2 years. And he hits it in the right center, another base hit. Alomar on his way to third. Gwynn trying for 2. The throw into second base is taken there by Elster, but not in time. And the Padres now have runners in scoring position with 1 out. The Mets leading by 4 runs. And the batter coming up is Jack Clark.
That's the 4th hit of this inning, and 3 of them have been extra base hits. A home run, 2 doubles, and a single. Samuel makes a good throw here. Tony Gwynn beat it, so second and third with still only 1 out, and now that's going to be it for Ronnie as Davy Johnson's out. And you know, Ralph, you think about the rain delay and the more than an hour, and you have to wonder whether or not it has an effect when a guy comes back out, although Ron did pitch well for 3 innings prior to this inning.
So Darling leaves after 7 in the 3rd inning. So far charged with 2 runs on 9 hits. He struck out 2 and walked 1. And with Don Aase coming into the game from the bullpen, here's a word from Budweiser.
Of Bobby McFerrin's hit, "Don't Worry, Be Happy." Don Aase replaces Ron Darling, and I guess that song is for Ron's benefit as he leaves the game still leading, and Don Aase in relief with a record of 1 and 3, a save, and a 3.45 earned run average. Darling, incidentally, has had decisions in all of his last 10 starts, and of course he's in line for a victory here, which would give him a decision in 11 consecutive starts if the Mets hold on and win it.
But Darling does have something to worry about, as Jack Clark will be the first batter for Don Aase. Clark in this game is 0 for 3, but he is dangerous. Clark with 271 career home runs. And he goes after the first pitch and pops it up. Dave Magadan makes the play in foul territory, and Clark has been very instrumental tonight in the Mets being on top. He has made 2 errors, 2 big errors, and he has popped up 2 times with a runner at third base and less than 2 men out. So he has not driven in the run. He's been 0 for 4, and he is now 0 for 23 against the Mets this year. He has not had a base hit against the Mets all season long.
I think Jack McKeon knows that.
So now 2 away, and the batter will be Chris James, who has been red hot. The opposite of Clark. He's 0 for 3 tonight. Brought an 18-game hitting streak into this game. And batting with runners at second and third and 2 men away, and he takes the first pitch for ball 1. James, a home run in last night's ball game. Batting .381 over his last 27 ball games, including that 18-game hitting streak. And the fastball is called a ball. It's 2 balls and no strikes.
Both of those pitches very close. So James is getting in a good hitting position, which has nothing to do with the way he stands in the batter's box.
Hitting .252 with 10 home runs, but hitting over .300 as a San Diego Padre player. His last 31 official at-bats with the Phillies, he was 0 for 31. And he pops it up. So it looks like the Mets will get out of the inning. Aase is there to make the play, and he makes it all by himself. So Aase, a fine job. Runners at second and third, 1 out, and he gets Clark to foul out and James to pop out. In the inning, 2-run score on 4 hits. 2 men left in scoring position. The score at the end of 7.5 innings. The Mets 6 and the Padres 2. And here's a word from Metropolitan Life. Well, we're back here in the bottom of the 8th inning. The Mets leading by a score of 6-2. A couple of changes for the San Diego Padres.
Luis Salazar Pardon me, Rob. He stays in the game in right field, and Dan Murphy is the new pitcher. Murphy made a big jump. He was with Stockton in the California League last year, where he had a 1-4 record and a 6.3 earned run average. He is the third pitcher of the night for the Padres with a record of 0-0. He's only worked one other game this year.
He was signed as an undrafted free agent by Milwaukee. There you see Luis Salazar, who has taken over in right field as they make a batting order switch. Salazar batting in the 9th position as a pinch hitter, hit that home run to get the Padres on the scoreboard and break up the shutout by Ron Darling.
Six to 2 New York, bottom half of the 8th inning. And Strawberry takes high again, 3-1. Darryl with his 26th home run of the year, his last time up. Driven in 2 tonight. And that's a strike called on the inside corner. Darryl thought it was ball 4, but it's 3-2. Kevin McReynolds on deck. And Dave Magadan will follow here in the 8th. Bye. See you later. Wow. Darryl Jr. watches Dad send another one into orbit. Strawberry has been reluctant to come out for curtain calls as much as the crowd has cheered for him to do so. Ball 1 to McReynolds.
Well, Darryl with his 2 home run night, and this is a rocket, low fastball, and he just takes it downtown. And you were talking about a bus ride. There's one right there.
Well,
in the broadcast.
Just hop on and go. Baby. Now here's the reaction of Darryl Jr. He's climbing the fence. Is he loving it? Knocked that lady's hat off.
Strawberry started the day's action in the tie in home runs with his high school buddy Eric Davis. He now has gone 2 ahead.
Short center field, a long run for Gwynn, but he gets there for out number 1. And we want to remind you that guests on our program will receive from Verdi Travelwear a new, durable, new decade luggage. It combines fashion and practicality. Choose Verdi Travelwear, available at fine stores everywhere. They will also receive a Sharp remote-controlled compact disc player with 8 times oversampling and 20-track programmability. The new point of view from Sharp Audio. Here's Dave Magadan with 1 out and nobody on. Magadan 1 for 3. Ball 1. One for 3 tonight. And over the last 75 games, Magadan is at 303. Right in there for strike 1.
When Murphy retires from baseball and talks to his grandchildren, he can say he gave up his first major league home run to Darryl Strawberry.
Nothing to be ashamed of in that. That was a cannon blast. 2 balls, 1 strike. Murphy got welcomed in a rude fashion.
Wow, what a greeting. Welcome to the big leagues.
Hello, goodbye. Fouled off. And so the count 2-2. Only 2 players in the Mets lineup tonight as yet do not have base hits. Probably will remain that way unless Carter bats here in the 8th inning, because unless the Padres tie it, there will not be a bottom of the 9th, of course. Mets now leading 7-2. Carter and Miller without base hits. The Mets have 8. The Padres have 9 hits. But New York's 3 home runs tonight put a little charge in their run production on 8 hits. And it's ball 4 to Magadan on a 3-2 pitch. So David aboard for the 2nd consecutive at bat.
The catcher, Gary
As he singled his last time up, and with 1 out, Gary Carter will stand in. Carter tonight is 0 for 3. He has grounded out all 3 times up. The last time into a double play. He was robbed of a base hit in the 4th inning when Rasmussen knocked down a line drive. And he fouls back a high fastball for strike 1. Stepping off. One strike to count to Carter with Magadan at first and 1 out. And a breaking ball in there, and it's strike 2. Barry Lyons looking on as he, Mackey Sasser, and Carter are now sharing the duties. Mackey there right next to him. Carter fouls it off back behind the Mets dugout, so it's still no balls, 2 strikes. Gary has hit the ball much better since coming off the DL.
Matter of fact, he came into this game hitting in 4 of his last 5 games, batting .615. 8 for 13.
Fly ball into right center field. Salazar makes the catch. Magadan returns to first now with 2 out. Well, no Mets player has stolen a base tonight. But did you know that every time a Mets player does steal a base, you could win a new 1990 Nissan 300ZX? All you have to do is go to your participating Nissan dealer and enter the Nissan stolen base game. No purchase is necessary, but you must be at least 18 years old and a licensed driver to play. And tonight, Maureen Ryan of Central Islip, New York, had her name drawn. And her name now goes into the hopper, and she gets 2 tickets to a future Mets game. Elster fouls it back. She will not qualify for the drawing unless a Mets player steals a base tonight, but she gets the 2 tickets to a Mets game, whether they steal one or not.
Her odds are pretty bad because Magadan has never had a stolen base in the major leagues.
And he's not going to get one tonight, even with Jack Clark not holding him on. So, Maureen, good luck, dear. Take your 2 tickets. Outside.
That's where you say she's got 2 chances, slim and none.
That's right. And they both Slim and his friend Don left on the last
just
train.
left, that's right.
They are out of here. One ball, 2 strikes to Kevin Elster. Kevin 1 for 3, as you see Don Aase on deck. Elster with a double his last time up in the 6th inning. get in at first with 2 out. Mets leading 7-2 in the bottom of the 8th. High in the air down the left field line. Bip Roberts over, and the inning is over. A home run by Darryl Strawberry is second of the game. Leading off the inning gives the Mets another run. 7-2 New York as we go to the 9th after this for Nissan. The Mets leading 7-2 and takes the ball outside. And tonight 0 for 3.
In our diligence to make sure that everything is correct, we have discovered that there was a stolen base in this game. It was on the pickoff of Samwell back in the first inning. And when Clark threw the ball away, it was credited as a stolen base. And the error charged to Clark for allowing a run to score and also for Samwell to get to third.
So, Maureen Ryan of Central Islip, New York, you are
She's in the barrel.
You are in there for the Nissan 300CX. My mistake. I'm terribly sorry. She gets the 2 tickets, and she's in the draw. Well, this one hit high and very shallow to left field, and 1 out in the 9th. New York Mets baseball is being brought to you this evening by Budweiser. Beechwood Age for that clean, crisp taste. This Bud's for you. By Manufacturers Hanover, the financial source worldwide. By Nissan. Building cars for people who want more than just a means of getting from here to there. Nissan, built for the human race. By the 9X Yellow Pages. If it's out there, it's in here. Brought to you by other folks whom we'll tell you about in a minute. Benito Santiago leading or batting second in the inning with 1 out and nobody on. He's 1 for 3 with a base hit back in the second. 1 ball, 1 strike. The Mets staff over the last 15 games prior to tonight with an ERA of 1.83. That ball a rocket into center for Santiago's second hit. And New York Mets baseball also has been brought to you tonight by the New York Daily News, New York's hometown paper. By Tropicana. Good night for that. And by Metropolitan Life and affiliated companies. Get Met. It pays. Santiago at first with 1 out for Gary Templeton, who has had 2 hits tonight, an infield single in the second and a double to right in the 5th, 2 for 3. And he rips this one foul for strike 1. I'm very disappointed, Ralphie, that we missed the eclipse. We had all the cameras here at Shea ready to go, trained on the skies, and the rain and the clouds have prevented us from seeing something that doesn't happen that way.
Well, just have patience. You'll make it to the next one.
You think so?
Absolutely. Look at it optimistically.
Grounded to short. It could be a game-ending double play. Miller in time, and the game is over. The Mets with a 6-4-3 double play, their 3rd double play of the night. And Don Aase picks up a save. I'm not too sure Don Aase picks up a save. But the tying run was on deck when he came in, so
it
I
was
guess
not.
He does. No, it was
not.
No, it wasn't, because only 2 runners
He
were on
doesn't
base.
get a save. The tying run was not on deck.
I don't think he gets a save. Well, anyway, check it with the official score and see. His only other save, if he did get one tonight, was opening day. But he did pitch well, especially in the 8th inning when he relieved Ron Darling with 2 runners aboard and only 1 out. He retired Jack Clark and Chris James, 2 tough hitters, to get out of the inning, and then gets the double play ball to end the game here in the 9th. So the Mets win it 7-2, and they have now won 13 of their last 16 games since they lost those 7 games in a row back in July. We'll be back with a final word from Shea, where the Mets have won it and keep it going and staying at 3.5 games behind Chicago. After this, for the New Jersey Bell Yellow Pages.
Meet the Mets, meet the Mets. Head for the park and greet the Mets.
You're a Mets fan? You can't be
a Mets fan if you don't have Triple Play. 3 collectible video cassettes of the Amazing Mets, created exclusively by Sports Illustrated Video and the Mets. Number 1, an amazing era. Casey Gill and all the rest. The doctor making his rounds. The franchise proves you can go home again. Watch Darryl having a barrel blasting his homers and robbing other players of theirs. Number 2, the lighter side of the Mets. Nobody's perfect, not even Rodney. Number 3, 1989 highlights opening day through the pennant race. Triple Play. You get all 3 collectibles for 3 easy monthly payments of only $19.95 each. To order, just pull out your credit card and call 1-800-292-2771. Triple Play. Use your credit card and get free Sports Illustrated Super Duper Baseball Bloopers. Down in the dugout, the New York Mets deal with the pressures of big league baseball in many different ways. From the stands, it may seem like a carefree lifestyle, but in reality, the brutal schedule can take its toll. 162 times a season, these men face the challenge of a new game. So to keep tension from tying them in knots, the Mets can sometimes sit back and enjoy the lighter side.
Spuds will be there. He's got Ralph Kiner's headset on. And it fits.
As soon as the kid can talk, he starts to say Metsy, Metsy, not Papa, not Mama, Metsy, Metsy, Metsy.
Lindsey Nelson, he called him Lindsey Miller, and he called Bob Miller Bob Nelson. Now, how he got the two mixed up, I have no idea.
It was the worst team ever put together in the history of the game. I was the MVP of that team. I didn't know whether to be happy about that or not.
And we always said of Tug McGraw, he could have fun on a stalled elevator.
And Casey used to say about him that he was the fastest catcher we ever saw going back after pass balls.
We used to just, like walk around with coat hangers in our shirts and say, hey, do I look like George?
My head, I would raise out of the dugout and they could see my head coming out and they'd boo me back in before I come out.
Le Grand Orange? Fifi?
Number 3, and he throws the ball over the wall. I like it. This is getting crazier.
Since 1964, Shea Stadium has been the site of a lot of fun and games for New York baseball fans. But the lighter side of the Mets really started 2 years before Shea opened, in an ancient edifice called the Polo Grounds. I'm Bob Murphy, and I was selected as a Mets broadcaster before they ever played a game. So I was right there in the press box when National League Baseball returned to New York City under the direction of the maestro, Casey Stengel. Old Case had come across town from the Yankees to direct this new ensemble and teach them a few tricks from his 50-plus years in baseball. As it turned out, most of the team were over-the-hill veterans who already knew the tricks. But all the familiar names brought fans out to a relic that Casey fondly called the Polar Grounds. This was such a strangely shaped field that I remember seeing tremendous drives stay in the park because dead center was 456 feet from home plate. Everybody who came on board that first season has a favorite story to tell.
We moved into the Polo Grounds. The ballpark had not been used except for stock car races and a rodeo and things like that since the Giants had left in 1957. Well, actually, we didn't start at the Polo Grounds. We started at the Hotel Martinique, which was a kind of a beat-up hotel down on 32nd Street. And one of the first things that happened, the first week that we were in business, we had a sign in the lobby of the Martinique that said Met tickets. A lot of people didn't know what the Mets were at that time because the team had just been spawned from the old Continental League. And our first customer came down the stairs was looking for 2 tickets to Rigoletto.
It wasn't the Metropolitan Opera, but Casey had sure put together a curious cast of characters.
Fortunatissimo preferita, fortunatissimo preferita, la 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 la, la 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 la.
And I sat on a bench and just gathered my thoughts because I knew I was close to the end of my career and, you know, what I was really going to do. And Casey came and sat beside me. And we chatted for about an hour. And then along came Jack Lang and welcomed me to the club. With that, he turned to Casey and asked Casey, he says, who's going to catch today? And he said, well, that Pignatano fella if he ever gets here. That was my indoctrination to the Mets.
It was the worst team ever put together in the history of the game. I was the MVP of that team. I didn't know whether to be happy about that or not. But it developed a cult following almost.
And Choo-Choo Coleman was a catcher that Casey Stengel was very fond of. And Casey used to say about him that he was the fastest catcher he ever saw going back after pass balls.
We had 2 pitchers in that team, both named Bob Miller. And Casey could get confused by those guys, so he used to call one of them Nelson. And after a while, we got, I think the left-hander was Nelson and the right-hander was Bob Miller.
Lindsey Nelson, he called him Lindsey Miller, and he called Bob Miller Bob Nelson. Now, how he got the 2 mixed up, I have no idea. That I couldn't tell you.
Casey always knew where he was going to wind up, but he'd take you on by roads and lanes before you'd get to the point. He'd start talking about a ball player, and he'd bring in current events, he'd bring in world affairs, he'd bring in the President of the United States. He'd be all over the lot, but if you hung in there at the end of maybe 3 hours, he'd be back to what he started talking about.
But Casey said to me one time, he said, when you're going to get interviewed, and they say they want to ask you for 2 minutes or 2 questions, he said, just talk till your time's up. That way they can't ask you as much and you can't get in trouble. He'd go ahead and talk till his time was up, and then you couldn't ask him anymore.
Why, they're the most amazing fans that I've ever seen in baseball. I've been in World Series games since 1916. I've been with enormous crowds in stadiums. I've played before 96,000, but the Mets, I'll have to say, they stick by you. They stick by you in the hotels. They're on the streets. They're carrying placards. They're going to the place. You can find them over here in right field. 4 innings later, if you get a base hit, they'll be over on the left field line. They make up wonderful placards. The placards are terrific. I even have to stop and look at them. I think I made 15 mistakes this year reading the placards instead of watching the pitcher or watching the hitter to take my men out. Of course, we've drawn over 1 million people who could do that, but just the amazing Mets. And then they have that effeminate appeal, too, the Mets have. Our players, you know, look into the stand and have a graceful walk when they go up to the plate. And when they come back, if they get a home run, they know they come in there and everybody bows to them and pats them on the back. So it'd be great to be a Met, and it'd be great to have the fans if we can get up in the race so they'll be supported for their wonderful sport. And I want to thank the broadcasters, the writers, and the photographers. They've done the biggest job that's ever been done to help bring the club forward. Now it's up to the players and the manager to get the team better so that we at least repay the money we've taken from the fans in New York City.
I think Casey kind of took the focus off how bad that club really was. I think we had 2 20-game losers. I think we had a 19-game loser and an 18-game loser. I had heard stories that Casey would occasionally fall asleep in the dugout. I personally didn't see him do that. I would not have blamed him for some of those games. I mean, when you're down 10 runs in the 5th inning, it can get a little tough in the dugout.
You know, like I lost
24 games the first year, and people sent me rabbit's foot, so they sent me all these good luck charms, and the fans were really behind me. And I look back, and all those things, the adversity, the losing, really helped me in my teaching and associate and relating to losses, a guy going 0 for 10 or maybe losing 3 in a row as a pitcher. It helps me a lot in relating to my players.
Well, I think that I got to hit the first game, I hit the second game, then I think I went 0 for 38, got another scratch hit and went about 0 for 40, and Casey finally called me and he was trying to explain to me about I like the center field fence and I like it this and that, and I didn't know what he was talking about, and finally I said, Case, what are you talking about? And he said, oh, we just traded you to the Cincinnati Reds. I think it's interesting that Roger Craig and Don Zimmer, charter members of the gang that couldn't shoot straight, are now managers of winning major league teams. Those original Mets didn't win much, but they quickly attracted a large and loyal following and left a lot of great memories.
I wouldn't have missed that year for anything as I look back. It's the only team I ever played on where there was absolutely no pressure on you to win. Nobody ever thought we were going to win. But we did win 40 times. It was a good bunch of guys, and I wouldn't have missed that year with Casey Stengel for anything. That's the only year I was ever around him, and I loved him.
After 2 years, Casey and the Mets bid farewell to the Polo Grounds. I remember that after the last game, the players were reluctant to leave because we all had the feeling that despite the losses, something amazing had started in that doomed old ballpark. Sure enough, within 6 years, the Mets would charge out of another dugout to celebrate a World's Championship. But win or lose, every Mets team, and I've seen them all, retains a bit of unpredictability from those original Mets. And New Yorkers have come to expect far more than their share of the weird and the wild.
All right, our number is 718-937-6666. Your memories of some of the wackier plays in the history of the New York Mets. Joe in Brooklyn, you're on Mets Extra.
Hi. Oh, yeah, the one I remember in April '87 when
that's the one.
hit the fly ball and hit the bird, and would have been a routine fly out, and it ended up being an extra base hit.
It hit a bird!
Can you believe that?
Bird! I've never seen that.
That ball hit the bird flying in the air and dropped it. I've never seen a base hit like that in my life.
He's going. The pitch is swung on and missed. And that'll retire the side. The ball skips into center field. I thought that was the one that would retire the side. Rounding third and coming home. The throw is coming in. The slide and out at the plate. Wait a minute. I'm terribly confused here. I think Jerry Lane, the umpire, got confused too. That should have struck out.
4 outs to an inning? Doesn't surprise Roger Craig or Don Zimmer. They know the Mets have always gotten themselves into strange situations.
Len Dykstra put his arm up to deflect the ball. Perry makes a good play. He gets Dykstra and eschews the double play. Now watch, here's Law. He chases Dykstra back. Now watch Dykstra.
Oh, yeah.
He did it on purpose.
Yeah.
No question about it.
Oh, yeah. No question about it.
Well hit to left field. McReynolds going back. Off his glove and over the fence for a home run.
Got to the fence in plenty of time, and you're right. It hit in the pocket of his glove. It came out of the glove, and he caught it with his bare hand.
As we look on the replay, Dykstra got to the ivy, jumped high enough, it breaks out of his glove. Dykstra crawling after the baseball while the beer is showering down from the bleacher bumps.
It hit the glove right on top of the wall and came right down in his bare hand. That's the second catch this year. Mark Carrion has made exactly like that. It's incredible that a guy could actually make 2 catches like that in the course of a year. It looks like an instant replay of the first one he made.
Makes the grab for out number 3. And he throws the ball over the wall. I like it. This is getting crazier.
Crazier than what, friend Healy? The Mets have never been exactly normal. Balls keep finding their way into problem areas, like the time a Keith Hernandez grounder stuck in Terry Mulholland's glove so he threw everything to first. Or what about Len Dykstra losing the ball entirely? Sometimes the Mets hope the umpires lose sight of the baseball, while other times they search the skies in vain for a glimpse of that elusive little white ball. The Mets' patron saint of botched plays was Dick Stewart, who during his brief stay with the team lived up to his nickname, Dr. Strangeglove.
He laughed at his fielding. He was a good hitter, but he laughed at his fielding. Somebody hit him a shot, and he caught it, and he said he must be getting old because he had trouble getting out of the way of it.
He used to like to dress. He's extremely proud of the way he dressed. And one day I said to him, I said, "Hey, Dick, great looking sports coat." And he says, just average, no big deal. He liked himself. Yeah. He had to dress well because he didn't do that well in a uniform.
One player who did well, but looked odd in his uniform, was George Theodore.
He was different, he was peculiar, but he was a good player. He came out to play, loved the game, but of course, George was called the Stork, and I think because of the way his arms hung out, and he had big shoulders, and it looked like he had hangers in him.
Jack Buck, the announcer for the St. Louis Cardinals, said Theodore is a man who looks like he was put together by a committee.
Well, George definitely went to the beat of a different drummer. He was a little more educated, I guess, than most baseball or athletes in general. But he was really a good guy, and you could have a lot of fun with George.
And everybody loved George. We used to just, like walk around with coat hangers in our shirts and say, "Hey, do I look like George?" Or a guy'd hang himself on the locker hook and get in there. But he took the razzing and the kidding very well.
Another player who took the razzing well was an amazing redhead named Rusty Staub.
Rusty, the adorable redhead. He's an interesting character. He's worried about everything. He's got all kinds of phobias.
And here's a guy that carried 2 pair of gloves with him all the time. 1 pair of gloves to hit with and 1 pair of gloves to run with. So, I mean, I never asked him why he did that. I didn't even want to know.
La Grande Orange? Fifi? Rusty used to be the best hitter in baseball. He knew every pitch that was coming. He could read a pitcher better than he could read a book. And he just had a feel for figuring out what was coming, what the pitcher was throwing before he threw it. It made him a great hitter. It made him almost impossible to pitch to. No sense of humor. Took everything real serious, hypochondriac, worried about the length of the runway, what floor he sleeps on. I mean, the guy's sick.
He was superstitious? Did he have superstitions?
Anyone who is superstitious and talks about their superstitions is nuts. Sure, I had them. I had all kind of little things I did. We'll skip them, though.
As he got older, Rusty went from an everyday player to pinch hitter par excellence. His love of fine cuisine slowed him down a bit, but his routine never varied, and the base hits kept right on coming.
And Rusty lines it into the gap in right center field. It'll drop in, and both runs will score. Murphy up with the ball, and Rusty stops at first with 2 RBIs.
Even at the end of his career, Staub could still hit. But when Davy Johnson had to use his rusty glove in an extra inning game against Pittsburgh, a shuttle system was devised to keep him in the opposite field. So, of course, Rusty saved the day with a sort of running catch.
When he started shifting myself and Clint Hurdle back and forth, it got to be where the toughest part of it was I was laughing so hard going back and forth every time Hurdle and I looked at each other. I mean, I was tiring myself out because I was laughing. I was getting my eyes watery because you just keep going back and forth, and it just got to be so funny. I thought I was going to catch it all the way. My speed wasn't there, but my mind was.
Fortunately, we've preserved Rusty's mind as part of our Mets broadcast team.
Okay, now I want to get my point across.
And we let him know every day how glad we are to have him in the booth, sharing insights with the listening audience.
Well,
you're a major league player. You're supposed to do it like a major leaguer.
Is this a fan's posture? Look at Franny. Stuff in his face. Gotta love it, pal. It's big league living, isn't it? Huh?
Who said he had an accurate arm? He can hit his mouth every time.
He's eating that thing like he's going to be electrocuted tomorrow morning. 1-1 to Coles.
Look at this. That's perfect coordination. Every time his hand comes up, his mouth opens.
Has not offered us a drop yet. Nothing. No, that's all right. We've got a game to do. Some of us have to work for a living.
I know I'm a lucky guy to have a job that's more game than work. And every day we find something new to laugh at up in the press box.
Roscoe came in and finished out the ball game a little shaky. Didn't get a save because of the rules. He did not pitch 3 innings, and he came in without the on-deck batter being a batter that he would face in his next approach to pitching to the hitter.
I couldn't answer that if I thought about it for a week.
Consider this: Dwight Gooden is 17-11 in day games and 47.
Yes, sometimes the bloopers in the booth match those on the field, and we constantly have to audition new talent.
Played July 12th, and I guess Spuds will be there. He's got Ralph Kiner's headset on, and it fits.
The Mets have always attracted comedians, but sometimes they get no respect from the mascot variety. Take, for instance, the time the chicken barged in unannounced and proceeded to make fun of our Willie Montañez. Willie was with us for a couple of years during the 70s. I hate to say he was a hot dog or anything, but let's just call him highly stylized. Anyway, I'll have to admit that Chicken had Willie's home run trot down cold. Montañez was not the only Met with a novel home run approach.
We had characters like Jimmy Pearsall, who, when he hit his 100th home run, ran around the bases at the Polo Grounds backwards.
And I thought he was having a lot of fun. I was surprised. I think Dallas Green was the pitcher. The next time up, he didn't knock him down. The next day, I think Casey felt there was only one place in this organization for showman, and I think he released him. He got rid of Jimmy.
Casey might not have been in favor of an additional showman on his team, but ever since he managed the Yankees, one outrageous character was tolerated because this guy didn't even know he was funny. Besides, Lawrence Peter Berra was one heck of a ball player. To his fans, number 8 was simply Yogi, the only player alive who could turn a cat food commercial into a classic.
Gee, champ, you're in great shape.
Yogi, I like to keep fit. Work out every day, gym, road work, you know.
What do you eat to keep yourself going?
I always eat Puss in Boots. Fish flavor or meat flavor, both terrific.
When Yogi was named Mets manager in '72, reporters learned that an interview was never over till it's over.
Yogi was funny without trying. He just had a way of saying things that came out funny. All the stories about, I'm not going to this restaurant, why? He said, no one goes there anymore, it's too crowded. You know, it always came out different than he meant it.
Yogi's Yogi, and he's great, he's humorous, and I used to give Yogi haircuts. And I used to carry all my barber stuff on the road with me. The phone rang when I was giving him his haircut, so I had to turn my clippers off while he goes and answers the phone, and it's his wife, Carmen. And all I heard him say, they were talking, all I heard him say was, so what's wrong with you now? And what it was, she had told him that she went to see Dr. Zhivago. So that's a real Yogi story.
Who knows how many funny things Yogi said that we can't repeat? In the heat of the moment, lots of managers and players say things that can't be repeated. Frustration erupts from all the acts of God, so to speak, over which the players have no control, like the weather, for instance.
Popped up.
This should be an experience. It's pouring out there.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Lynn Dykstra looked up and saw a billion baseballs, and he caught the right one out.
Other times, the field turns into a barnyard.
Now, I've seen a lot of things. I've seen black cats. I've seen dogs. Even once saw a rabbit.
He doesn't want to pick him up.
Well, I don't blame him. Those things bite.
How about that? A bat. You got to get out of his way.
Tell you what. That's scary.
Actually, Shea Stadium is unique because of all the overhead traffic. Anything that can stay airborne for over 60 seconds files a flight plan over Shea. The most outrageous example is the Jets from LaGuardia that I try and shout over during a broadcast.
Well, it was unnerving, believe me, because I'd never been under that type of noise before, right? And it could be very distracting, especially when you're at bat. I politely called time and stepped out of the box and waited till the noise level subsided. Then I stepped back in.
Most guys step out of the batter's box, and I did too early in my time here. But I really decided to change that because I think you actually have an advantage if you're in the batter's box and the guy does throw the ball to you. Number one, the infield and outfield can't react to the sound of the ball because they can't hear it. Also, they can't help each other. If the outfielders are going at each other, yelling something to each other, they cannot hear it.
You know, when I first came to Shea Stadium and I noticed the Jets, the biggest curiosity I had was, golly, as famous as the New York Mets are, it seems like they'd know somebody who could get those guys to use a different runway. And you found out that even being in the big leagues, you didn't have that kind of juice.
In addition to the obvious airspace excuses, Met players also have the traditional ones. There's the ever-popular I lost it in the sun. And the familiar I lost it in the lights. Not to mention the time-honored it took a bad hop. Or simply, I slipped. And then for very special occasions, I didn't even know he had the ball.
Off the glove of McDowell, kicks away. Can he make? Oh, everybody's safe. How do you like that? And McDowell threw the ball away. Oh, what a crazy play.
Some players just seem to attract more mischief than others. Like one of my all-time favorite Mets, Mookie Wilson. Mookie's speed took him places most players can never go. And when he got there, strange things seemed to happen. Even Mookie could see humor in his predicaments. No matter what problem popped up, Mookie's engaging smile made him one of the most popular Mets ever. The same can't be said for Richie Hebner, who came from the Phillies in a 1979 trade. It was definitely not love at first sight.
It was obvious that Richie Hebner did not like New York, and it was obvious that New York didn't like Richie Hebner. You know, his claim to fame was in the winter times. He dug graves, which that's for this business his father was in, so he dug graves. He didn't have to talk to anybody, I guess, when he dug graves.
And his dad would always tell him, you know, be careful, don't tip the box, the body will fall out, you have to put it back in again. He says, Pop, never worried about tipping the box and somebody falling out. They're not gonna hurt me. They're dead.
He wouldn't get married unless the girl chewed tobacco. I know that for a fact.
So did he finally find somebody?
Yeah. A nurse. God.
Like Hebner, Tommy Agee arrived in a trade and made a very bad first impression.
When I came over in '68, I think they wanted to win me because I didn't have a great year, and they booed me. They didn't laugh at me, they booed at me. I mean, booed like I'd never seen before in '68. I walked the street, and people would boo me on the street. It got so bad till I didn't have to get on the ballpark. I would raise out of the dugout, and they could see my head coming out, and they'd boo me back in before I come out. I mean, it got that bad, you know, '68. So either had to come back and play in '69 or leave New York. So I decided to go ahead and play, and I had a great year in '69.
Agee came back to help the Mets win their first World Championship on one of the happiest teams of all time.
I think in time we were too happy. As a matter of fact, you're too happy sometimes. One night we had bed check and all 24 guys was out. So I think that was pretty loose and pretty happy.
I've noticed that most Mets teams are happy, and they stick together in the dugout. This is very important because, as we all know, it's a jungle out there. Major league players have a lot of free time on their hands, so to avoid boredom, it helps to be creative. And there's never been a more creative Met than Roger McDowell. Roger is like a jazz musician who can improvise all around the score.
Roger McDowell's new hairdo grew in a hurry, too, didn't it? A lot of guys, Sam Kinison.
A lot of guys like me who are losing their hair would like to know how Roger managed that. So Barry said, Raj, come into the dugout.
Give me half of that.
For some reason, I got this harebrained idea of just putting my uniform on upside down, and we got Rusty Staub's old pants so that my head wasn't scrunched up against my arm so tight. You know, we wanted that extra baggage in there that I could stick my head in.
Roger McDowell never one to miss out on the joys of life.
You could tell he had the devilish grin there. He's thinking of what he's going to do to somebody next.
The culprit, as always, Roger McDowell.
What's amazing to me is how he does it so many times. Look at that innocent look right there. There it goes.
You're never safe with Roger around.
It wasn't my own invention. It was Howard Johnson. He came over from the Tigers, and Howard and I had some idle time on the bench, and he showed me how the Tigers did the high foot. And I kind of revised that and made it a little bit easier for me. And they use gum to stick it on a shoe, and I use gaffer's tape from the TV crew. And it stays a lot better, and it doesn't melt, and it's great. I mean, I'm working on a lot of things, like going out there, and I got a time delay on some of them with a cigarette, which acts as the fuse. I'm sure the next guy, the guys that I show it to or pick it up will be getting to the electronic era, which is what I want to get into, where I don't need a fuse, a cigarette for a fuse. I can just have a little pad and flick the on button and it'll ignite up. But beware, because all it takes is a little microchip.
The McDowell era came to an end when his shoes were bombed and then burned to the ground. He was traded to the Phillies, just like his idol had been years before, another flaky reliever named Tug McGraw.
Tug was a very emotional young man. He was no middle of the road with Tug. He was either high or low, but basically he was a very good person. Tug was the kind of guy who always had a big dog with him. He'd tie the damn dog up to the fence at Stengel Huggins, and then somebody untie the dog and he'd be running around. And I had some problems with Tug, early, but he was just a kid, he hadn't matured.
Oh yeah, they thought I was nuts and not ready for the big leagues, and that where'd they get this guy and what's he doing here? They tried to change my walk, my mannerisms, my emotions. They tried. Don't tell anybody I told you this, but my first major league start, they gave me Valium before the game. Before the game, the trainer gave me Valium. Well, I gave up a grand slam in the bottom of the first. I faced 4 hitters, and the 4th hitter hit a grand slam, Billy Williams. I mean, don't give me Valium before the game. It's okay to be hyper.
Staying hyper seemed to work just fine for Tug, so we just gave him the ball and got out of the way.
He was a typical left-handed reliever. He was, a few cards short of a full deck. But Tug was great. You loved him on your ball club. He kept everybody loose. I can remember he came into spring training one year on, my birthday, April 1st, April Fool's Day, and he had a cast on his arm. Okay, a whole cast. Walked in, and nobody even worried about it because they knew it was Tug. Nobody even thought he was hurt. He thought he was going to shake people up, and everybody just laughed. He had gone to a hospital and had put a whole cast on his left arm. He was sick.
Happy-go-lucky Tug set the tone for the Mets' second trip to the World Series at the late August team meeting in '73.
Tug just jumped up in the middle of the meeting and started screaming, "You gotta believe." It was the darndest thing you ever saw in your life. And from that point on, we went out that night, he came in and he saved the game and batting his glove on his leg and screaming, "You gotta believe," and it just became the cry.
McGraw gets the fan, goes into the motion. Here's the 2-strike pitch. Swung on, hit on the ground toward first. Milner has the ball. It's to McGraw. It's over. The New York Mets have won the pennant. The New York Mets have won the pennant. The New York Mets have won the pennant.
Since the amazing celebration of '73, fans have always felt free to express themselves at Shea. Only now, they stay in the stands. Met fans seem to be able to identify with their heroes in a special way. In fact, sometimes the resemblance gets a little scary. But it's all part of the fun of jumping on your favorite bandwagon and enjoying the ride. Fun and the Mets. It's a tradition that goes all the way back to the very beginning.
But over the years, we've had the Lone Ranger, we've had the Mad Doctor, we've had the Met Mutt, we've had the Juggler, we've had the Sign Man, we've had any number of people who wanted to be a Met. And we also had Homer the dog. Homer was a dog that used to sit up and grip a pennant in his mouth when the Met would hit a home run. So he didn't have to do that too many times because that was 1962.
Win or lose, I love the Mets. I think they're the best thing for New York and best thing for the New York National League fans.
I like the New York Mets because they're a hard-fighting team and they get all the bad breaks. I like the Mets also because they have Casey Stengel as their manager, and he's a good manager.
I must confess, I have known Stengel about 40 years. I don't yet understand him. I don't know what he's talking about, but there is in Casey something of the eternal Peter Pan, something of the pixie that catches public imagination.
It was Casey who set the tone for the always amazing Mets.
You could send Casey out on a speaking engagement. I mean, he can talk to mayors, he could talk to kings, he could talk to the average fan. He was just a terrific asset for the Mets to have in those early days. Plus, he was a genuinely nice man as far as I was concerned.
He's the best I ever saw at handling ball players. Amazing thing, he always thought we were going to win the game, no matter what the situation. And that's a nice approach, a nice attitude for a manager.
I think that he did a great job for the Mets to make it popular, and I don't know whether they reflect on Casey Stengel now, because Casey might die if he'd see what some of the players are making, today. I mean, he might roll over.
But he had as much energy and as much passion and love for the game as any man I've ever met. And he was just a baseball warrior.
I admire Casey mainly because I recognize that his genius lied in the manner in which he promoted baseball. But he was a genius, believe me, promoting the game of baseball. And to this day, we miss him.